Hey guys. This is part 7 of What If Naruto Was a Digimon Tamer. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 17. Digimon are the champions. It was now nearly the end of summer vacation, with only about 2 weeks left in the entire summer before September began, and so would school. Naruto, Takato, Rika and Henry, after having dealt with the issue of Gulfmon and finishing spending time away from each other, decided to spend the rest of the summer vacation together. Shinjuku Park, Gilman's shed. Well, this sure beats fighting Digimon all the time, Takato said with a sigh as he lay back on the wall next to Gilman. I agree with you for once, Gogglehead, the red-haired Tamer said to the blue shirt-wearing boy as she leaned her head onto her blonde boyfriend's shoulder. Henry nodded as he watched the Digimon play in the area outside the shed as leaves of many shades of green, with a few beginning to change color, began to drift along the wind's path. Naruto-kun, you're awfully quiet, Rika said. Naruto's eyes looked like they were empty, but when Rika spoke he shook his head and looked at his violet-gray-eyed girlfriend. Hee, sorry, just talking with Kyubi about something. Something concerning you three, he said, pointing at the three preteens. Us? They asked, receiving a nod from the shinobi Tamer. What would you and Kyubi talk about that concerns us? Henry asked, voicing everyone's thoughts. Your training, the blonde stated simply. Training? But we already did that with you, Takato whined. Naruto looked at the blue Democrat Arkansas-wielding Tamer. True, but Rika-chan hasn't, and besides I think it is time you go beyond learning martial arts, Naruto said. Beyond martial arts? Henry asked. What else could we do but use hand-to-hand combat? Naruto smirked as that was the question he had hoped Henry would ask. Oh, nothing special, just... Naruto formed a Rasengan. How to use Chakra. Nani? The three exclaimed. The Digimon stopped whatever they were doing and ran over to their human tamers and looked at them oddly, silently asking what the hell was going on. Are you serious? Rika asked. Hi, you three are all strong in your own right, but I think it is time I upgrade that strength, and I can't always be there to protect you, Rika-chan, Naruto said, turning to Rika. So what will we learn? Water walking, walking up a wall with no hands, or maybe breathing a fireball like you do? Takato said excitedly, earning a chuckle and a sweat drop from the other three tamers. What's going on? Gataman finally asked. Oh, Gataman, how long were you all standing there? Henry asked. A minute or two. Anyways, I'll ask again. What the hell is going on? I'm telling them about how I will be teaching them on how to use Chakra, Naruto replied. The Digimon nodded. Oh, okay, they said as if it were an everyday occurrence. But then the information was finally relayed through their brains once more before their eyes bugged out of their heads and they looked at the blonde with wide eyes and slack jaws. Are you serious? Of course, why wouldn't I be? The blonde asked. Well, Naruto, Doraemon began. Doraemon's sweat dropped as he couldn't find any words to answer that question. So what will you be doing with Rika? Rinamon asked, concerned for her tamer's well-being. Well, first off, I will have cage bunchins tutoring them one-on-one. But I will have to work Rika-chan quite hard because she hasn't learned how to fight yet. Also, I will be teaching them on how to use basic weapons like the shuriken and kunai, and after that I will be teaching them on how to access chakra, how to use it, and finally put that into play by teaching them a few basic jutsu like the bunshin, kawarimi and henji along with katan, kukaku no jutsu and futon. Daitapa, for example, Naruto explained. I see. But what will the times of the training be? Because they are only 12. They have curfews most likely, Rinamon said with a tilt of her vulpine head. Well, that depends on the times they have to return home, Naruto said. I have an 11 o'clock p.m. curfew, Takato said. Same here, Rika and Henry answered simultaneously. Well then, the training will begin at 8 o'clock sharp. No tardiness from any of you, and I'm not going to go easy on you, Rika-cha. You may be my girlfriend, but you still have to catch up to Takato and Henry. I have already taught them mixed martial arts and have trained their Digimon as well. So Doraemon and Gataman will also be training Rinamon, Naruto explained to both female Tamer and Digimon. Hi, the two females replied with a nod. Alright, well then, now that that's over with. Naruto paused as he saw Takato raise his hand like a student would do when he wanted to ask a teacher a question. Yes, Takato? Why are cage bunchins being appointed to us instead of you just training us yourself? The goggle-wearing Tamer asked. Because I have some training to do myself, Naruto answered with a foxy grin. There's a jutsu I have been working on with Kyubi, but it's not fully completed and I need a secluded area for it be done, so I will be gone from Shinjuku for the 2 weeks of vacation we have remaining, and from what I've noticed, All three of you are quick to think and are able to adapt and pick up things quickly, just like me, so I'm sure you all will be able to complete my training by then, Naruto explained. Doraemon, Gatoman, Naruto called to his Digimon. Hi. Naruto? The two Digimon asked. You two are in charge while I'm gone. That means that you are to watch over the others, and also Doraemon, you're in charge of the apartment. But please, don't eat my entire ramen supply, Naruto pleaded. This caused everyone in the vicinity to sweat drop. Don't worry, I won't eat it all, the purple-furred dragon said with a wave of his claws. I'll just eat most, he mumbled beneath his breath softly. Alright, any more questions? The blonde asked before seeing Gilman raise his claws. Will we getting training from Doraemon-sensei too, Naruto-mon? Gilman asked. That is up to Doraemon, Naruto said before forming his favorite cross-shaped hand sign, Kagebenshin no Jutsu. 3 clones of the blonde shinobi appeared, all with serious looks on their faces. Alright, you 3 are to train Rika-chan, Takato and Henry, and I have given enough chakra to each of you to survive for the 2 weeks, so you'll be able to withstand the normal punches and kicks along with flicks and being impaled with pencils. Hi Naruto, Taisha the clone said with salutes. Naruto nodded with a playful smirk. He then kissed Rika on the cheek and waved goodbye to the others. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. I have to go to the apartment and get my stuff, and then I'll be on my way. And the whisker-marked blonde vanished in a whirl of wind and leaves. Well, these last 2 weeks are going to be interesting, Terriermon commented. The next day, training day. The group had arrived in front of the shed where Gilman lived and were ready to start the training at 8 o'clock sharp. The Naruto Kagebunshin, the original Naruto, had left behind when he left. Doraemon and Gatoman were there waiting for them. Ah, so you came, one Kagebunshin said. But we're missing somebody, the second blonde clone stated. True, where is Wong and Terriermon? The third asked his fellow clones. What are you 3 talking about? Rika asked as she approached her boyfriend's carbon copies with Rinamon, Takato and Gilman. Henry and Terriermon aren't here, Gatoman and Doraemon informed her. Oh, well, where is he? The goggle-wearing Tamer asked. Maybe he went to buy us bread, Gilman guessed. Everyone looked at the crimson-scaled lizard with a sweat drop. Gilman, really? Doraemon asked. This caused Gilman to chuckle nervously before everyone heard the sound of running footsteps. They turned to see the approaching form of Henry Wong and his Digimon partner, Terriermon, atop his head of blue hair. The boy was holding a rolled-up piece of paper in his hand and was panting heavily as he stopped in front of the group, clutching his knees as he attempted to catch his breath. Whoa there, Henry, what's the rush? The first clone asked. Yeah, dude, you look like you were running from a Digimon or something, Takato added, patting the boy on the back. The Asian Tamer panted before catching his breath and then stood to his full height as he looked Takato, who was exactly his height, in the eyes. The blue-haired Asian Tamer then held up the piece of rolled-up paper to the brown-haired Tamer. The Devis? I know what kind of Devis might come next, he panted. This caught everyone's attention as the second Naruto Kagebunshin swiped the paper from Henry and unfurled it to view its contents. What is this? Henry, this is a calendar with pictures of the animals from the Chinese zodiac, the clone informed the group. What happened? Couldn't find the ones with the bikini girls on them, the third clone joked, earning himself a glare from his creator's girlfriend. After all, his thoughts were his boss's thoughts. I'll shut up now, Rika-chan. Good, the sole female human of the group said with a smirk. So, what does the calendar have to do with the David Digimon? Gilman asked. Well, I've noticed that the Devis are all modeled after the animals in the Chinese zodiac. So if we cross out the ones we've beaten, then we can have an idea of which ones we would have to face in the future, Henry explained. I see. An excellent hypothesis, Doraemon said before Gatoman spoke. So let's see this then, the white-furred cat Digimon said before swiping the calendar from the clone that was holding it. Oi, what was that for? The clone exclaimed before it got a glare from the blue-eyed feline, which he returned tenfold. Rika-chan, he was afraid of. Gatoman, not so much. Anyone have a pen? Doraemon asked. Takato fished one out of his pocket and handed it to the purple-furred dragon. Why do you need a pen? The goggle-wearing Tamer asked. To cross out the ones we've beaten, he answered with knowing look in his eyes. Afterwards, everyone's eyes were trained on the calendar. Anyways, let's see. She lay out the piece of paper and held it down using a few strategically placed rocks that were found nearby. The Devis that have appeared and we have defeated so far are the tiger, Mihiraman. Doraemon put a big black X through the month that had a picture of a tiger on it. Sandiramon is the snake and the rooster would be Cinderman, Rinamon added. 2 more large XS filled the boxes of the months that contained pictures of the snake and a rooster. We've also beaten Indraman, who would be the horse, Doraemon said as he drew the large letter through the month of the horse. Vajraman would be the ox, Rika piped in, earning another X on the calendar. Pajraman would be the ram/sheep of the zodiac, Terriermon and Henry said simultaneously. Doraemon nodded as he drew the X through the month of the ram/sheep. And the rat would be Kumbiraman, Gatoman said with disgust as she hated rats. especially that perverted little pest. Good thing he was dead now. Doraemon drew the final X, which showed the remaining types of Devis that would approach Shinjuku to get Calumet. Well, the remaining animals left are the rabbit, the dog, the dragon, the monkey, and the boar/pig, Henry stated as he looked at the calendar. Hi, but we won't know which ones will attack the first, Naruto clone said. True, but that's why the boss told us to train them, so help prepare them, as their skills must have dulled after not fighting after the situation with Gulfmon, the second clone said. The third clone nodded. Alright, let's go. Rika-chan, you're with me. Clone 1, you take Takato, and Clone 2, you take Henry, the third clone instructed. Or why do you get to teach Rika-chan? The other two roared. Because I'm better than both of you. We're the same person. The first clone reminded the third. Well, listen, I'm training Rika-chan, and that is that now. Shu, the clone, told the other two, making a shooing motion with its hands before taking the red-headed girl's hands and dragging her away to train her in hand-to-hand combat. So the other clones cursed before telling Takato and Henry to come with them. The Digimon were all that remained of the group after that. So Doraemon, will you be teaching us again? Gilman asked. I don't know. You and Terriermon have learned basically everything I taught you about fighting, and the rest of your training would only be completed by experience. As for Rinamon, she doesn't really need much help in fighting either, the ex-antibody holder replied. Well then, let's just take a break then and sleep, Terriermon suggested. I have taught you well, Terriermon. Hi, Doraemon-sensei, the dog-eared bunny chuckled. With the Tamers and the clones. Since it was the first day, the clones decided that it would be best if all the three preteens worked together instead of separately. Okay, first of all we will be teaching you more of the taijutsu, also known as hand-to-hand combat, since we need to get Rika-chan up to speed, the first clone stated. Right, so Rika-chan, clones 1 and 3 will be helping you while I will be dealing with Takato and Henry, understood? The second clone said. Hi, was the reply from the three preteens. Alright, Rika-chan, the clone 1 said, we will be teaching you the katas, or stances for the fighting style we will be teaching you, so pay attention, and be sure to pick up quickly so that we won't be lagging. Remember, later on we will also be teaching you and the other two boys how to use kunai and shuriken. Hi, Rika responded and followed every instruction her boyfriend's clones gave her. I won't be left behind again. I will help protect Naruto-kun and Rinamon. So for most of the day, Rika was taught in the various katas while also being trained in other physical traits such as stamina, strength, and speed. Excellent work, you three, the clones said as they looked at the panting preteens. Then clone number 3 took out some kunai and twirled them expertly between his fingers. We will now be teaching you how to use weapons. Now the knives I am holding are known as kunai and are used for basically any range of combat. By range, I mean close combat, mid-range combat, and long-range, clone number 3 explained. Clone number 2 then interrupted his carbon copy. As for these, he said, pulling out a shuriken, these are known as shuriken and are used only for mid to long-range weapons combat. They are mainly used for incapacitating an enemy or for a quick kill by aiming for the jugular. The clone pointed to the vein that carried blood away from the brain back to the heart by raising his head and pointing at the slightly visible bluish-green colored internal tubing. So, what do we just throw them? That, and also you have to improve on your accuracy because I doubt any of you have even held these weapons once. I held a kunai once, Henry piped in. Did you know how to use it? Clone number 1 asked. No, the Asian Tamer replied with a sweat drop. Well then, let's get to it then. We'll provide you some targets for you to throw at, and we'll keep practicing with those weapons until the end of the training session. This schedule will be continuous, starting off with your taijutsu training, followed by your physical training, and then followed by your weapons training. You will continue to use your weapons until you can throw your weapons perfectly in the center of your targets, clone number 2 instructed. Hi, Naruto-sensei. The three young tamers responded before starting the weapons training. The three clones then turned to each other and nodded before flashing through hand signs. They then planted their hands on the ground. Doton, Tsuchibunshin no Jutsu/Earth style, Earth clone jutsu. The three clones yelled as they formed a multitude of Earth clones of varying heights. Alright, now for the finishing touches, clone number 2 said before flashing through hand signs. Raiten, Raikurai no Jutsu/Lightning style, Thunderbolt jutsu. The second clone held out his index and middle fingers as if he were pointing at something with them. Blue sparks of electricity formed at the tips of the two fingers as he curled the rest of his fingers in as if he were forming a makeshift fist before rapidly firing low-powered thunderbolts at specific areas on the earth dummies that formed small holes that cut halfway through the thick earth, as the areas where Takato, Rika, and Henry were supposed to aim their weapons. Right, so where I have made holes in the dummies, that is where you will throw your kunai and shuriken. The points I have made are places in the human body that are guaranteed to be able to kill someone if struck there. The brain, heart, throat, both lungs, liver, the eyes, and if you put enough force into the throw, You can penetrate through the person's stomach and go straight through to their spine, clone number 2 explained before he and his fellow cage bunchins moved away from them. Now begin, clone number 1 told them. They'll pick it up in a matter of days, clone number 1 said to his fellow cage bunchins. Yeah, these kids look like they will learn things really fast, clone number 2 stated. Reminds me of US. Well, the boss really, but still, you get my point, clone number 3 added. For the next few days, which was around at least 5 to 6 days of training in taijutsu, Rika was finally able to match Henry and Takato in fighting prowess, and they were also trained in their throwing weapons. After those few days passed, they had finally been able to get a grasp of throwing their weapons, but they were far from being able to have mastered the art of using the kunai and shuriken, and Rika was still a bit behind on her taijutsu. But she was still able to beat Takato in sparring sessions of their training. Alright, you three, you have finally gotten a pretty good grasp of use of taijutsu, and you have also gotten pretty decent at using your weapons. So here's what, at the end of this training session we will be giving you your own sets of weapons that we managed to find at an old man's shop in eastern Shinjuku. We have them in this scroll here, clone number 1 said, holding up the storage scroll. Right, clone number 2 said, so when we give you these, you are to take extra care of them, sharpen them using a rock if you have to so that they never dull. Just rub the rock against the edge of the blade of the kunai, and the points of the shuriken in a diagonal direction. However, enough of weapons because now it is time for you three to focus on doing what we wanted to teach you, clone number 3 said. You mean? Takato paused. Hi, time to learn how to tap into your chakra, clone number 3 said with his creator's foxy grin. Meanwhile, in a secluded area far from civilization, outside of Shinjuku was still quite populated, but the farther you traveled the less the land was polluted by man's buildings and machines. So far outside of the city and in a secluded, forested area of Japan, a young boy, no less than 13, sat meditating in front of a waterfall upon a large boulder. I wonder how the others are doing? The boy wondered. I'm sure they are fine, Naruto. Now enough meditating. Time to get back to training on your Rasengan. A deep voice from within the bowels of the boy's mind spoke. The boy, now identified our protagonist, Naruto Uzumaki, nodded. Yeah, alright Kyubi, he told the great nine-tailed kitsune within him. Naruto jumped off his rock and landed atop the surface of the small pool of water, the waterfall, made from years of erosion. He walked towards the shore before readying himself to make the complete Rasengan. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes as he calmed his mind. Then his eyes snapped open and then held out his right arm in front of him and concentrated. Streams of blue chakra swirled into his palm and were then seemingly bound as the chakra formed a tight sphere of shining blue. Although the ball was quite small, about the size of a baseball, it held a lot of power in it. Enough to shred through steel if it had to. Alright, there's the Rasengan, Naruto said. Now add the wind chakra. Yup, Naruto nodded and then focused his wind element chakra into the sphere. The Rasengan gave off a soft screeching sound as wind chakra was applied to it. Then more of the elemental nature was added as the screeching began to get louder and higher in pitch, scaring off a few birds from their nests. The Rasengan remained in its original form. Bit around it was a shining white shuriken of pure wind chakra. Alright, there's the futon, Rasengan. Now just. Naruto grunted as he tried to hold the Rasengan's stability a little more. He pumped more wind chakra into the attack before the shuriken started to grow larger, but then the Rasengan started to pulse as it began to lose stability, and the chakra began to backlash, nearly hitting him. To add insult to injury, he lost his focus as a bird surprised him when it jumped out of its nest, thus causing a huge backlash of wind and chakra. Naruto grunted in pain as he was thrown back and landed on his back on the harsh ground. The slicing wind chakra took off thin lines of skin, causing many slash marks on his arms to form, each one releasing a thin line of blood. Well, you nearly got it, that, Kyubi said. Naruto stood to his feet and dusted the leaves and dirt off his clothes. Yeah, but Kami-sama, damn it all, I nearly got it, and nearly is not going to cut it. I have to complete this Rasengan, Naruto growled. Take it easy, Kit. Maybe you should rest a bit, Kyubi said. I mean, ever since you found this place 2 days ago, you've been nonstop. Well, I need to get this done. School is about to start and the others are training. I can't take a rest every time I get frustrated at not completing the Rasengan, the blonde shinobi responded. He pounded his fist against the grass-covered ground, causing a dent to form in the ground from the force. Kyuso, it's like trying to look left and right at the same time. I can't do it, Naruto said through gritted teeth. Well, you can actually. You can make a cage bunshin and look both ways, the most powerful of the Bijou interjected. Naruto's eyes widened in realization. Look left and right at the same time, cage bunshin. Naruto whispered. Kit, I got it. I know how to do it. Arigato Kyubi, I love you. If you were in a physical body I could kiss you. You're welcome, and Bleck, please don't kiss me, Even if I did have a physical body, don't QB said. Naruto giggled with glee before jumping up and down in happiness before forming his favorite cross-shaped hand sign, Kagebunshin no Jutsu. He formed one carbon copy of himself. Alright, form the Rasengan, he said to himself. He formed the spiraling chakra sphere in his right hand. Now add my wind chakra. The shuriken of pale white, pure wind chakra formed around the Rasengan as the futon. Rasengan was formed. Now you. He looked at his Kagebunshin. Add your wind chakra and put your hands there like when we used to form the Rasengan in the beginning to stabilize it, the blonde told his clone. The clone's eyes, along with the blonde's inner Bija's eyes, widened in realization at what Naruto had planned. The clone smirked and did as he was told, and the shuriken began to grow in size and began to spin rapidly as the wind began to pick up. Small rocks rose from the earth, and before they even reached eye level, they were shredded into nothing, as if they were disintegrated. Kit. Sometimes you are such a genius. QB chuckled at the idea that his container had, with the other tamers. Oh dear Kami-sama, we've meditating for hours, Naruto. I mean clone, Kagebunshin. Takato tried to correct himself as clone number 1 chuckled. Takato, will you quit your whining? We've only been meditating for 4 hours, Rika said before turning to the clone with a glare. So really, what does meditating have to do with chakra? Henry asked as he too, along with his fellow students, was getting bored of just sitting and breathing. Well, my students, clone number 2 piped up. As I have told you before, chakra is the energy that is created from the unity between the physical energy from the body's cells and can be increased by doing exercise and mixed with the spiritual energy which is drawn from the soul, and this type of energy is increased through meditation. You all have already been trained in physical aspects of chakra. This is to aid in your spiritual aspects. Also, meditation helps you become more acute in drawing out your chakra, since your mind will be focused on nothing. And by focusing on nothing, your mind will be able to focus on the hidden something, which is your chakra, clone number 3 said in a wise tone. That somehow makes sense, the other 2 clones wondered. Now back to meditating. They barked. The 3 to-be chakra users nodded and went back to just taking in the darkness as they closed their eyes and breathed while meditating. After many hours of simply sitting and breathing in the process of meditating, the 3 clones were busy observing their students. They are getting closer into tapping into their chakra pools, clone number 1 whispered to his fellow Kagebunshins. Hi, but it will take a while for them to control it when we teach them jutsus, clone number 2 said. That's why we will teach them tree climbing before that, and if we have enough time after we teach them jutsus, we can probably move on to water walking, clone number 3 said. I don't know how you're smarter than us, clone number 1 said to clone 3, earning him a shrug from his fellow clone. Alright, you 3 can get up and go home now. Clone number 1 yelled. The moon is out already. You need to go home and sleep, clone number 2 said. Hi, we'll see you tomorrow, the 3 preteens said. Takato then took Gilman to the shed while Rika and Henry went straight home. The clones then watched as Doraemon and Gataman walked up to them. The physical representations of data looked at the chakra constructs. So how long has it been since you guys have started this training? Doraemon asked. We lost count of the days, the feline explained. The clones looked at each other. Well, I think it has been about 5 days. There's 2 more days in the week, and that would leave us with only 9 more days before the school term begins again, and also means 9 days before the boss comes back, clone number 1 said. Well, it's going by quick. The days, I mean, the purple-furred dragon stated. You have to get those 3 to at least make some progress in getting their chakra to surface. Oh, it's there. In fact, they will be ready after this week is over, clone number 2 said. 2 more days of meditation, and then they will be able to tap into their chakra pools, clone number 3 added with a smirk. Doraemon and Gataman looked at the clones of their tamer with their lack of eyebrows raised. Really, that fast? Gataman asked, her tail flicking the air behind her. Hi, they learn really fast. You know, I find your traits are starting to get contagious, the ex-antibody holder said with a smirk, causing 3 foxy grins to meet the eyes of the dragon and cat Jaimin. We're Naruto Uzumaki, what do you expect? They said simultaneously. In the past 2 days after the mind-numbing meditation sessions, the clones put Takato, Rika and Henry through. The 3 had finally been able to unconsciously tap into their chakra reserves, thus it was time they learned to access and control that power. It was now Monday, and at sunrise the 3 preteens were already there, standing before the clones as their Digimon partners watched from afar, with Doraemon and Gataman eating from one of Naruto's scrolls that held a large amount of Naruto's popcorn supply. And it was a good thing the original nor the clones noticed, because the only thing Naruto loved more than Riki-chan or ramen was his popcorn. Alright, you 3, after these grueling exercises this past week, your senseis have detected your chakra signatures, meaning that you have finally tapped into and unlocked your chakra reserves, clone number 1 said. This earned smiles of accomplishment from the 3 preteens, but, however, the time for celebration is not yet over, for that means that you must work even harder now. We will now teach you 3 basic jutsus that all beginner shinobi learn upon accessing their chakra. These 3 jutsus are the Bunshin no Jutsu / Clone Jutsu, Henju no Jutsu / Transformation Jutsu, and the Kawarimi no Jutsu / Substitution Jutsu. Clone number 1 explained. Now then, as to how these techniques are performed, we will do so through demonstration. Seeing as how the boss gave us enough chakra to sustain ourselves for the 2 weeks, he will be gone along with enough to actually perform these 3 basic jutsus. We shall each show you one of the techniques. Clone number 2 said. Mateo, you too, we still haven't taught them the hand signs for jutsu. Before teaching them anything, we need to teach them those. Clone number 3 interjected. What do you mean by hand signs? Rika asked. Yeah, Henry and Takato said simultaneously, agreeing with their female friend as to what hand signs were. True, Clone number 2 said, having ignored the words of his pupils and more to that of his fellow clone. Alright, well, seeing as how you 3 are incapable of performing and even knowing the signs used for ninjutsu, I will teach them. Alright, well, there are 12 hand signs, and just like the zodiac, each hand sign is named after an animal. Ram, rabbit, dog, rat, bird / rooster, boar / pig, dragon, horse, tiger, ox, snake, and monkey. The second clone explained while also performing the hand signs as he called out each one. These hand signs are used to help perform and help channel chakra in order to perform ninjutsu and genjutsu. The first clone explained. Exactly, the first clone said. So until you 3 can get these hand signs down flawlessly and not risk killing yourselves, you will be practicing these for the rest of the day until you get it right. Kami, I now realize just boring your boyfriend can be. Takato mumbled to Rika. I now realize that too, she replied. Rika-chan. Takato, no talking and more hand sign ing. The 3 clones barked, earning nervous looks on the red-haired girl and the brown-haired boy as they did as they were instructed. At the end of the day, after continuously doing the hand signs and getting many a hand cramp, they finally got the hand signs down pat. The next day they were now ready to perform the 3 basic Academy 3 jutsu. Alright, now then, to perform the Bunshin no Jutsu, you must first form the ram sign before channeling your chakra. The technique comes naturally when you yell out the name of the jutsu, which helps one in focusing on that specific jutsu. Like so, clone number 1 said before performing just as he had told his students. In a swirl of black and orange and a puff of smoke, a perfect copy, illusionary copy of the copy appeared. Now Bunshins, unlike us, cage Bunshins, are illusions while we are solid, meaning that you can feel us. But Bunshins have no physical form. The cage Bunshin put his hand straight through the head of the Bunshin it had formed before dispelling the Bunshin. Now you try, the 3 cage Bunshins told them. Reach deep into yourselves and look for that hidden power within you that you have barely touched, and then concentrate on it. Build it up, and then unleash it. Clone number 3 told them. Bunshin no Jutsu. The 3 preteens yelled after they had done so. A large plume of smoke emerged as all 3 Bunshin no Jutsus went off simultaneously. As the white smoke cleared, it revealed to the young Tamers and Naruto that they had in fact pulled of the jutsu. Only, their clones looked like they had diarrhea and were dying from malnutrition and lack of vitamin D. Well, it was a first try. You 3 can practice more once we get you to learn how to use the Kawarimi and Henge. Clone number 2 encouraged them. Now dispel the Bunshins by just willing them to dispel. Clones are dispelled with just a thought. 3 pops were heard as the dead-looking Bunshins of Takato, Rika and Henry disappeared with a small plume of smoke. Right, now then for Henge, just use your chakra and coat it around your body, then imagine the person you want to transform into, and picture them in your mind's eye. Detail in key to looking like the person you want to look like, especially on infiltration missions, but you might never have to do such missions since you're not in the world of shinobi. Clone number 1 said, and then demonstrated by changing into Doraemon. Even going so far as to get the small little brown speck within Doraemon's scara that is invisible to the naked eye. And then just think of yourselves and you'll change back into your original form. The cage Bunshin spoke before changing from that of a Digimon to human form. Sug, the 3 young Tamers gaped in awe before trying it themselves. Takato tried to change into Gilman and managed to get most of him right, except he looked like Gilman with a messed up looking tail. It was all squiggly, and not reptilian looking at all. Nice job, Takato, but work on that tail a bit more, the clone said. Does my tail really look like that? Gilman asked, since he never really looked at his behind appendage. Nah, Takato just messed up, Terriermon replied. Oh, okay, good, the Crimson Reptile replied before the Digimon looked back to see Rika use Henge. Henge no Jutsu. She cried out, and in a plume of smoke she changed into a carbon copy of her Oba-chan. Nice job, Rika-chan, very good. The clones gave a small round of applause as Rika returned to normal, shown to be doing a bow. Henge no Jutsu. It was Henry's turn, and in a plume of smoke, another Calumet appeared from the smoke. Oh, what am I doing there, if I'm here? The original Calumet asked as he floated over from the trees from where he observed his friends practicing. He stood in front of Henry, and the Asian Tamer gave a small wave to the original light of digivolution. "Hey there, Calumet," Henry spoke in Calumet's voice. "Nice job, he even got the voice down," clone number 2 said. "Okay, Henry, you can change back now," clone number 1 instructed the Asian Tamer before the Cream Puffs clone was changed back into the blue-haired Tamer. "Alright, now then, time for Kawarimi no Jutsu," clone number 3 said. "This jutsu is used to avoid being hit by attacks and is a high-speed move used in which an invisible string of chakra is connected to an inanimate object such as a log or rock. The person then takes that object, switches it with him/herself while simultaneously performing a henge on the object by channeling chakra into the object and performing the principle of henge no jutsu on the object. The user then usually hides and escapes or uses that moment when the Kawarimi is over to counterattack." Clone number 3 then took out a kunai and threw it to Rika, who caught it expertly in her hand before twirling it so she held it in a reverse grip. "Now throw it at me," the clone instructed. "Nanny?" The 3 preteens stared at the Kagebunshin with wide eyes and slack jaws. "Hi, now do it so I can demonstrate the Kawarimi no Jutsu," clone number said. Rika bit her lip as she thought it through before nodding. She looked at the clone and then threw it. The kunai was released with a flick of the wrist, wind whistling as the weapon sliced through the air. "Her aim is truly magnificent," clone number 2 said as he watched the kunai, earning a nod from clone number 1. The kunai then impacted with clone number 3, sending his head reeling back as it impacted with his skull. Then just as quickly as the kunai had been embedded in the skull of the clone had there been a puff of smoke as the clone disappeared to reveal a small log that fell to the ground. "Nice hit," clone number 3 said, appearing out of a tree. "That was so cool," Takato said as he squealed like a little child, earning a cringe from the clones as the squeals sounded like those of fangirls. "Now you guys try," clone number 2 said as he picked up a few rocks from the ground. "Now you should practice with these rocks instead of kunai since, well, you could die if you don't get the Kawarimi down, and get impaled by the kunai, and die of excessive bleeding," clone number added. "And you think it will help if we pelt each other with rocks?" Henry asked with a raised eyebrow. "No, but at least you won't die, depending on how hard you throw the rock though. But don't worry, we know some medical jutsu so we'll heal you if you get too bruised up," clone number 3 informed the 3 tamers, who still looked unsure as the clones tossed the rocks up and down in their hands. "Ready?" they asked as the preteens nodded in reply, but with nervous looks on their faces. "Now remember, make a string of chakra and attach it to the object you want to replace with, and then perform a transference henge no jutsu on the object, and you'll get away scot-free," the clones advised. "Takato, you'll go first," clone number 2 stated. Takato nodded before taking a horse stance, spreading his legs out wide so that if he failed, he'll be able to at least survive a rock being thrown at his chest. The clones nodded and then threw their small-sized rocks that could still hurt like hell. Takato then formed a chakra string and tried to attach it to something, but his string managed to attach to the trunk of a tree, and since he couldn't replace himself with a tree, well, itai. Takato screamed as the rocks impacted with his chest, stomach, legs, and one nailed him in the groin, sending him crumpling to the ground. Oh, everyone hissed as they saw the goggle-wearing Tamer fall to meet his new friend, the dirt. "That's not pretty, Doraemon," Terriermon and Gilman said. Poor Takato. Rinamon and Gataman shook their heads in pity at the 12-year-old. "Takato, are you okay?" clone number 2 asked. "Kinda," Takato said in a high-pitched voice as his balls were still hurting. The 3 clones then put their hands near Takato's groin and their hands glowed with green healing chakra. "Good, he'll be fine. There's nothing out of place, and he's not infertile," the clones announced, making everyone's sweat drop. "Okay, you just stay there and don't walk." "No problem," Takato gave a thumbs up, clutching his still paining balls, but they were healed but hurting. "Rika-chan, your turn," clone number 1 called out. The redhead groaned. Time skipped 1 week later. Last day of summer vacation. "Well, you 3 have done surprisingly well these past 2 weeks," clone number 1 said. "You have mastered the ability to access your chakra as well as mastering the bunshin, henge, and kawarimi," clone number 2 added. "Also, you have been able to do a satisfactory amount of work on the tree climbing exercise we taught you using just your chakra," clone number 3 said as he stepped aside to show 3 large trees in the park that the 3 in-training shinobi used. The trunk was littered with slash marks from the kunais they used to mark their progress. "Is there anything else left to teach us?" Henry asked. "No, not really. You have mastered the basics. Now all that's left is to use elemental jutsu." So the 3 clones each took out a piece of paper and handed it to each of the young tamers. "Pump your chakra into the piece of paper I have just handed you and we will determine your elemental affinity, meaning which type of elemental jutsu you are most suited to," clone number 1 said. "Hi!" The 3 complied and did as they were told, and a blue glow surrounded the paper as they pumped chakra into the paper. Takato's paper became soggy, Rika's became ash as it erupted into flames, and Henry's turned to dust. "Okay, so Takato, you have a water affinity, Rika-chan, you have a fire affinity, and Henry, you have an affinity for earth, clone number 3 said. Cool, the three preteens said in excitement. So in order to master your elemental affinity, I will give each of you some exercises. Takato to master water. Take a coin and place it in the water, and then use your chakra alone to have the water push the coin to the surface of the water and make it remain there for a period of at least 5 minutes. Rika-chan, to master fire you must use chakra to set a leaf on fire, and Henry, you must be able to convert a rock into mud by using chakra to change its molecular makeup, clone number 1 said. A rock into mud? That's impossible, Henry said. The 3 clones smirked before walking over to a few decent-sized rock, about the size of Henry's head. The clones each picked up a rock and then channeled chakra into the rock. Everyone watched in awe as they saw the rock start to sway and seem to liquefy. The gray and brown rocks began to turn a dark chocolate brown as they became mud. The clones let the mud slide to the ground and then used a minor water jutsu to wash it off. Care to say that again, Henry? No, the Asian Tamer shook his head as the 3 foxy grins from the 3 cage buncheons formed. Also, I have few jutsu. Each of you will have to learn when you finish mastering your elemental affinity, clone number 1 began before reaching into his rather large weapons pouch and took out 3 scrolls. Takato, your jutsus are basic, yet can be quite effective if used right. The jutsus in here are Kirigakure no jutsu / hidden mist jutsu, Suetun, Sujin Hiki / water style, water wall, Suetun, Mizabunshin no jutsu / water style, water clone jutsu, and Suetun, Suri no jutsu / water style, water prison jutsu. The cage bunshin tossed the scroll to Takato, who caught with his eyes shining as he stared at the rolled up piece of paper. Rika-chan, yours are also basic fire jutsu that are actually quite powerful if enough chakra is put into the jutsu. But start off with the minimum amount before you blow up something, or yourself. Yours are Katan, Gakaku no jutsu / fire style, Grand Fireball jutsu, Katan, Hausenka no jutsu / fire style, Phoenix Flower jutsu, Katan, Kabunshin no jutsu / fire style, Fire clone jutsu, and Katan, La Enden / fire style, Fire blast. Rika nodded and smirked as she caught her scroll. And finally, Henry, Doton jutsus are quite powerful, but are also useful for defense, so I've given you a bit more jutsus to work with. 2 more to be exact. So you will have 5 jutsus to spend your time learning. Henry nodded as clone number 1 told him his jutsus. Doton, Doryahiki no jutsu / earth style, Earth wall jutsu, Doton, Shinjuzanshu no jutsu / earth style, Inner decapitation jutsu, Doton, Domus / earth style, Dome, Doton, Dorya taiga / earth style, Mud river, Doton, Suchabunshin no jutsu / earth style, Earth clone jutsu, and Doton, Orijigoku no jutsu / earth style, Antlion jutsu. Henry nodded as he caught his tossed scroll and put it in his pocket. I have taught all I have to teach. Now all that is left is for you to master jutsus that I might teach you later on in the journey, the clones said to the 3. We were honored to be your students, Naruto-sensei. Takato, Rika, and Henry bowed low to the blonde shinobi Tamer's cage buncheons, who smirked. Rise, for it is not us you should be bowing to, but to. The cage buncheons suddenly vanished in plumes of smoke, causing the 3 preteens to blink in surprise. You should be bowing to me, the original Naruto. Uzumaki Namikaze, the original Naruto, said. The group of Digimon who were standing by immediately stood up and ran towards the pre-teenage Tamers and gaped as they saw the blonde shinobi. Dressed in his usual garb, a black t-shirt with an image of an orange-scaled dragon with orange flames along the hem and the edge of the sleeves, dark blue jeans and orange and blue sneakers. However, his clothes were slightly covered with dirt due to his journey. A/N. What, you didn't think he would think to at least bring a few changes of clothes, did you? Yo, what's up? Naruto gave a small wave and a wink in order to imitate his former silver-haired sensei. Naruto? The others asked. In the flesh, suddenly the foxy grinning blonde was tackled to the ground by his friends and girlfriend. Itai, he grunted as he felt the full weight of a few Digimon, and 3 preteens nearly crushing his lungs and ribs. Gomen, nice to see you, Naruto-sensei, the 3 preteens said with a wink, showing hey, we're just teasing their teenage friend. Haha, arigato. Nice to see you all too, Naruto said, dusting most of his clothes off. Doraemon then latched himself onto his tamer's back as if he were riding piggyback, and Gataman jumped and rested comfortably on the blonde's spiky head of hair, taking their usual resting places on their tamer, as if he never left. I'm guessing you miss me. No, of course not, Doraemon said with a smirk and his voice dripping with sarcasm, earning a chuckle from Naruto. I missed you guys too, the blonde shinobi tamer replied and petted the purple-furred dragon and the white-furred cat Digimon. The 2 Digimon smiled before jumping off and kicking Naruto lightly, sending him forward, stopping just in front of the red-haired female. Naruto-kun, Rika spoke. Rika-chan, Naruto stated, his blue eyes looking into her violet-gray ones. The two seemed to be staring each other down before the shorter redhead embraced her boyfriend with a few tears running down her face. "It's good to see you again." "What do you mean? You had my cage bunchins, didn't you?" he joked. "No cage bunchin could replace the real you, and you know that," Rika said as she continued to hug him. Well, the Jinchuriki was cut off from any further speech as Rika kissed him full on the lips, making his eyes early roll back into his head as he nearly fainted when she started to use her tongue in the kiss. He quickly regained his bearings and kissed her back before the two separated after 15 seconds of kissing. "So how was training, you three? Did I push you all too hard?" "Nope, you were fair, with just the right amount of disciplinary attitude," Henry replied. "What he said," Takato stated, pointing at Henry. "Cool. So Takato, make any progress with Jerry-chan?" Naruto teased, wiggling his eyebrows slyly. Takato blushed before turning away and mumbling about nosy, embarrassing blonde shinobi. "Well then, seeing as how your training is nearly complete, only having to master your elemental affinities, I say we go and have a nice dinner by Takato's bakery," Naruto suggested. "Yeah," everyone agreed. "You do know you all can't come?" Henry told the Digimon. "I mean, it would be weird having a large amount of digital monsters in your bakery." This caused everyone to sigh. "By the way, how did you know about our elemental affinities?" Rika asked. "Remember, cage bunchins relay whatever they do and know back to me," the original blonde Jinchuriki replied. "Well, okay, we'll see you back at the apartment," Doraemon and Gatomon said with a wave before walking off. Terriermon walked away with Renamon since Henry's and Rika's places were in the same general direction, while Gilman, now able to walk in the park by himself, left the group to go back to his shed. "I'll bring some bread for you tomorrow, Gilman, after school," Takato said. "Oh right. We have school tomorrow," Naruto grumbled. "Damn the educational system," Rika said through gritted teeth. "Well, beggars can't be choosers. Looks like we'll have to cancel on that dinner," Henry said. Naruto nodded and kissed Rika goodbye before leaving in a swirl of leaves. "He needs to teach us that when we're done with these jutsus and exercises his cage bunchins gave us," Takato stated. "Ain't that the truth?" the two other tamers said before they all headed back home. Time skipped 1 month after the start of the new semester. Time flew by like an eagle descending on its prey, quickly. The first day of school after the end of summer vacation was rather uneventful, with the welcoming back to the school, the new syllabus the students would be following, and people greeting their old friends after having not seen them for a long time. The three tamers had enjoyed their time, and while focusing on their schoolwork, in their free time they had been practicing constantly with their new abilities. In the beginning they had been practicing and using the Academ 3 basic jutsus and building up their chakra control and increasing their reserves by using the tree climbing exercise that Naruto's cage bunchins had taught them, as well as with their weapons training having been given their own set of kunai and shuriken to use. Then 2 weeks into the school term they had finally begun to train in mastering their elemental affinities. It had taken the rest of the month, but after constant effort, they had finally mastered their exercises to master their elemental affinity, and were now well on their way to begin practicing their jutsus. However, in the digital world southern sector Zukuyamon's lair, "Well, I have waited long enough. I think it is time we send Vikaraman and Makuraman to the real world," the sovereign of the south spoke. "I believe so, as well. We have waited long enough. However, send in Makuraman before sending in Vikaraman so as to actually locate the light of digivolution," the advisor of Zukuyamon said. "The advisor, as you all know, is secretly Loosemon, the fallen angel Digimon." "I see. Excellent plan. I will do as you advise, Makuraman," Zukuyamon shrieked as he had upon his throne of fire. In a matter of seconds there was a portal in front of the throne of the Phoenix Digimon, a swirling mass of blue surrounded by green, red and blue flakes of data. Out of the portal, a humanoid monkey walked out. The monkey was covered in dark brown fur, with peach-colored skin without fur was shown in the facial area, and white fur tipped the Davis tails. It wore a pair of off-white colored kung fu-style pants and lavender/gray colored armor to cover its torso. The armor was patterned with golden colored swirls and lines. A pair of gloves in the same style as the armor covered the monkey Davis' hands, and to finish the outfit, a pair of purple and gold shoes were worn on its feet, along with a purple and gold hat, which had the kanji for monkey on it, and ebony was placed on its head. "You called for me, O Sovereign One." Makuraman bowed low to the Great Phoenix. "Hi, Makuraman, I need you to disguise yourself as a human and search the city of Shinjuku. The light of digivolution, which I disguised as a Digimon by the name of Kalyaman, is hiding out there. I need you to find him. When you do, you are to immediately contact me so I can send in Vikaraman to do the dirty work while you retrieve the catalyst." "Of course, Sovereign One. But I thought your original plan was to disguise the catalyst in order to protect it from the chaos?" "It was. But I now realize that we need the catalyst in order to combat the chaos, for I sense it is rising, although slowly, it still is upon us, and we must prepare all the Digimon we have in the digital world in order to fight it, the sovereign Digimon explained. Makuramon nodded and smirked before standing. His form suddenly began to warp. His primate-looking anatomy changed into that of a human's. He changed to a tanned young boy, around 12 years of age, wearing a yellow shirt that was covered by purple overalls. Red shoes were worn on the human Makuramon's feet, and a large red hat was worn on his head. His mouth was that of a straight line and his eyes looked emotionless. But then the emotionless eyes held mischief in them as the stoic look changed to that of a mischievous or sadistic look. Your wish is my command. Makuramon then turned and exited the throne room via data portal to Shinjuku. Makuramon suddenly found himself zooming at hyperspeeds through the portal. Light particles began to elongate as his eyes began to develop tunnel vision until there was a white light. Makuramon squinted as he went into the epicenter of the white light. The portal opened in the sky as he bio-emerged atop a roof in Shinjuku. The disguised Digimon looked around and watched all the people walking through the streets of West Shinjuku. Now then, where are you, Kalyaman? Makuramon wondered before leaping from roof to roof. With Naruto. Naruto was in his apartment, as school had just finished. He was sitting in front of the computer playing a game of Command and Conquer, Tiberium Wars, while Doraemon and Gataman were watching over Kalyaman, who chose to stay with them for the day. This is fun day. Fun day with Naruto and friends. Kalyaman giggled as he jumped up and down on the couch. We should decrease his cream puff intake, Doraemon said, turning to his girlfriend. The feline Digimon nodded as she tapped her foot on the ground, her sky blue eyes following every movement of the light of digivolution. Are you sure he's the light of digivolution? She asked. Trust me, we've asked ourselves that question so many times, but he's proven himself, Naruto said, not taking his eyes off the computer, his fingers flying over the keys as he typed. Naruto, what are you typing? You haven't moved from the computer since you came home, Gataman stated as she jumped atop her tamer's head. Naruto smirked as he continued to type. Well, I have a report for school. I'm doing it on the principle of least astonishment, or POLA for short, and I have no idea what that is, and we don't care, the ex-antibody holder said. Well, I just have to write a 5-page report on it, and it's due in a few days, the blonde said as he continued to type. You know something? Ever since you got back to school you got boring, Doraemon said with a smirk. The reason for the smirk was because as he said that, Naruto immediately stopped typing and turned to face his first Digimon partner. Did you just call me boring? Naruto asked, his eyes flashing red. Doraemon's pupils turned slitted and a toothy grin spread across the reptile Digimon's face. Yes, I did. Well then come on, we're going to the park, and we are going to have fun. Now that's what I'm talking about, Gataman said, jumping off Naruto's head and landing next to the purple-furred dragon. Nice job, Dorukun, she whispered, giving him a peck on the cheek. Argiato, Gato-chan, the dragon smirked as he pecked her back. And with that, Naruto, Doraemon, Gataman and Kalyaman all left the apartment to go play in the park. Meanwhile, Kyuso, how hard is it to find one simple little Digimon? Makuramon growled. Even in his human disguise, his teeth still remained sharp as ever, and since he was bearing those pearly whites, he earned himself quite a few stares. Excuse me, do you know where you might find a Digimon? Makuramon asked a random woman. Oh, well, do you want a toy or something, young man? No, I mean a real, living, breathing digital monster, the disguised monkey Deva replied, which caused the woman to scoot away from him before running away. You belong in a mental hospital, she shouted, causing Makuramon to sweat drop. Humans, he sighed before noticing a young brown-haired boy wearing a blue hooded sweater/shirt, grayish pants and green and white sneakers. A pair of goggles with blue tint on the lenses was worn around the boy's forehead, and 2 yellow wristbands were worn as well. Next to the boy, Makuramon noticed a red-scaled reptilian-looking creature. However, as he looked at them, he noticed the marks on the creature's chest were similar to that of a certain piece of digicode, but couldn't remember what it meant. However, I don't care. It means that this boy is a tamer, and that is a Digimon standing with him. It proves that he is a tamer. Maybe if I follow them, I'll be able to find Catalyst, Makuramon whispered to himself, and then followed behind the boy and Digimon. Takato and Gilman were unaware of them being followed and were walking towards the park. So Gilman, don't you find it amazing that 1 month of the school term has already flown by? The brown-haired tamer asked his digital partner. No, not really, Takato. Time moves as quickly as one interprets it to move, Gilman replied, causing Takato to blink. When did you get such a high vocabulary, and how are you so deep? Since Narutomon taught me to read, mostly poetry books and philosophical ones too. It's fun to read, the Crimson Reptile replied with a grin. Never thought I'd hear a Digimon saying it was fun to read. Well, I never thought humans would be gullible enough to fall for the excuse that I am a person in a Digimon costume, Gilman retorted, proving his point when some kids ran up to him asking where he got his costume before being shooed away by their parents. Touché. Well, we're here now. Now where are Kazu, Kenta and Jerry? They were supposed to be here to meet with us, Takato said as the duo arrived in the park. Maybe they are at the shed the fire using Digimon suspected. The two then walked towards the shed, climbing up the abandoned stone staircase, and in fact did find their friends waiting for them there. Jerry-chan, Kenta, Kazu, Takato and Gilman greeted the trio with a wave. Ohio, Takato-kun, Jerry said with a smile, her puppet hand barking its own words. What took you two so long? Rika grumbled as she walked out of the shed with Henry, Terriermon and Renamon. Well, I got lost on the road of life. Takato tried the blonde's excuse, causing Henry and Rika to sweat drop at the lame excuse for an excuse. It's a good excuse, a voice from the trees said. Everyone turned to see the blonde drop down from a branch with Doraemon and Gataman by his sides. Naruto-kun? Rika asked. I thought you said you'd be busy all day with a report you had due for school in a few days. Yeah, well, I decided to take a bit of a break and continue tomorrow, the blonde replied. That and I called him boring, Doraemon said with a smirk, causing the Tamers, their Digimon and the regular people to sigh. Meanwhile, Makuramon was crouching on a tree branch, hidden amongst the leaves as he observed the group. Well, the Tamer and their Digimon are there, some regular humans as well, but where is the catalyst? The monkey Deva thought, his fangs nearly poking through the flesh of his disguised human form. Time passed by and the sky was alight with the colors of fire. Reds, oranges and yellows of different hues replaced the blue, and the white clouds began to turn a bit dark-colored. Makuramon was bored as hell as he had continued to observe the Tamers, waiting for the catalyst to appear. OH2, the great Fanglaman, where the hell is that stupid Kalyaman? The monkey Deva began to beat his head against the trunk of the tree he was resting on repeatedly before he heard a playful shriek of laughter. Turning around, the monkey Deva's eyes lit up as he saw a white cream puff of a Digimon with purple-edged ears, hands and feet appear. The Digimon had large green eyes and a 0 unit emblazoned on its forehead. Kalyaman, why were you hiding? I thought you were with us the whole time. Naruto asked. Makuramon's ears twitched when he heard the name of the cream-puffed Digimon. It is Kalyaman. Makuramon let out a soft giggle of excitement before jumping away. Did you guys hear something? Naruto asked, his ears twitching as he looked around the foliage of the park. No. Not really. The trees rustled a bit, but it was probably just a bird, the Digimon replied. Naruto bit his lip as he began to get a bad feeling in his gut. And you usually follow that feeling, Kyubi spoke. I know, and I always do and I always will. So are you gonna use your newest jutsu when you fight in today's battle? The Great Lord of Kitsune asked. Depends, but I might, Naruto said. Only in needed situations though. You know the consequences of that jutsu. I do. I spent about 2 days healing the damage to your hand and forearm. That, and it was doozy to reheal the chakra cells in those areas. Well then, guess we have a fight on our hands. With Tsukuyomin, the great phoenix of the south was nesting in his throne of flames before a circle of data formed in front of him. The Sosi suddenly showed the image of the disguised Makuramon. Well, my lord, I have found him. I have found the light of digivolution, Kalyaman. Very well done, follower of Baihoman. I shall send Vikaralaman right away, the large bird replied. The monkey Deva nodded before his image vanished in a flash of red data flakes. Tsukuyomin turned and smirked to a large shadow within his quarters. Are you ready, Boar Deva? The large shadow nodded as it stepped into the light, showing its gruesome face. The individual resembled a giant wild boar with clam-gray skin. A large amount of golden brown fur covered most of its body, except for the snout, tusks and hooves. There were red bands wrapped around the ankles of each of the Boar Deva's 4 limbs. 3 spikes came down in a straight row along the boar's back and 3 smaller, red spikes jutted out of the Deva's forehead in a triangular formation. Silver patterns lined its fur surrounding its red eyes as well. As always, Lord Tsukuyomin, Vikaralaman answered. The Boar Deva then turned to see a large portal awaiting him. No failures, the sovereign of the south stated. Of course, my lord. The Boar Deva made one last boar before turning back to the portal and vanished as white flakes of data upon entering the portal. Shinjuku Park. The sun was still in its setting stage as the night had yet to come. Kazu and Kenta yawned as they watched their friends play with the Digimon. I'm tired, guys. Maybe we should play tomorrow, Kazu said. The group looked at each other and shrugged. Yeah, why not? It's nearly night time. We should head home, Takato said. See you tomorrow, Takatomo. Gilman's eyes suddenly began to widen and then his pupils dilated as his viral nature began to surface. Gilman, what's up? Why did you pause so suddenly? The Crimson Reptiles Tamer asked. Suddenly all the Digimon in vicinity began to feel tense. Their pupils changing into vertical slits, claws twitching, noses shifting as their senses suddenly became hyperactive. Kazu, Kenta, Jerry, get out of here now, Naruto ordered. Why? Just do it, the blonde said more forcefully. All right, the three suddenly began to run towards their homes, but they, like the rest of the population of Shinjuku, stared in shock at what they were seeing. A large rip in the sky formed, showing a large wire frame pattern. A large shadow fell from that rip and landed dead center in the park. What is that thing? Kenta asked. It looks like a giant pig, Kazu answered. The Tamers and their partners, with Calumet, began to follow the oversized pig towards the city, which was where it was headed. Rika quickly took out her Democrat Arkansas, and even from that distance, the gargantuan piece of pork was scanned and the information came up in a matter of minutes. That is Vikaralaman, a holy beast Digimon at an ultimate level. Most likely the boar Deva. His massive size grants him large amounts of strength and endurance. His attacks are Fusion Ball and Boar Bog, the red-haired Tamer read. You guys, it's time to digivolve, the blonde shinobi said. The four Tamers took out their Diarchs and their digivolution cards before swiping them through the slits on the side of them. Digimodify, digivolution activate. Calumet jumped atop Naruto's head as the crystal matrix began to glow crimson. Digivolution. Renamon was engulfed by a swirling blue egg of data. Renamon digivolved too. Renamon's form changed to resemble a large golden and white-furred kitsune with the edges of the white fur that glowed with mystical blue flames on the paws. Instead of one tail, 8 more had sprouted out, now 9 blonde-colored tails, each tipped with white fur that seemed to also glow with mystical blue flames just like her paw fur. The bottom of Cubimon's mouth was white and 2 purple slash marks were shown underneath her still glacial blue eyes, and a large white mane extended along the entire length of her neck. The yin-yang symbol was shown above each of her 4 legs, and one lay on the center of her forehead. A white and red rope tied in a bow with 2 golden bells attached to it was wrapped around her neck. Cubimon. Doraemon's old interface symbol glowed red before he was surrounded by swirls of reddish-violet data that then formed a swirling egg of reddish-violet data. Doraemon digivolved too. Doraemon's skin and fur peeled away to reveal a much large form, bound together by reddish-violet squares of data. The skin then reattached itself along with fur. The reddish-violet egg of data exploded to reveal Doraemon's champion form. A large dragon, only a little bit shorter than Graumon, emerged. Black fur with purple zigzag patterns coated the Digimon. 2 large wings on the back were black with purple zigzag patterns, but on the underside they were pure white, just like the snout area, hands, feet, wrists, and ankles, along with the tip of the new Digimon's tail. A collar of white fur formed at the base of the dragon's neck, and the ears were more pointed than before. Sharp teeth lined its jaws, and 3 crimson claws on each of the dragon's forelimbs and back limbs seemed to shine. Orange eyes seemed to glow in their sockets. Finally, the red triangle, outlined in gray, the old interface, lay in the center of its forehead. Darugamon. Terriermon was surrounded by an egg of swirling green data. Terriermon digivolved too. Terriermon's skin peeled away to reveal a large green rabbit covered in wire frame pattern, or blue squares for a simpler term. The skin then reattached itself as Terriermon's body grew into that of a larger rabbit. His face and ears were entirely green, the edge of the ears, the body and muzzle of Gargamon being a tan color. A red diamond lay in the center of the champion level's forehead. 2 red slash-like markings were on Gargamon's cheeks. His hands were replaced with Gatling guns. A string of ammunition was strapped across the trigger-happy bunny's chest, and he wore a pair of navy blue jeans. Gargamon. Gilman was surrounded by a swirling red egg of data. Gilman digivolved too. Gilman's skin then peeled away to reveal a darker red form that was patterned in a wire frame pattern. The skin then reattached itself to form a larger, more powerful form of Gilman. The egg of data exploded to reveal a larger version of Gilman, except the ears were now like spikes and 2 blade-like protrusion came from his elbows, and Gilman seemed to look a lot more reptilian looking, with a mane of silver-white hair growing from the back of his head. Black band-like patterns with digicode on them were shown on his legs, forearms, and around the thick part of his tail. The 0 unit was emblazoned on his feet and hands, while the digital hazard symbol was located on his left shoulder. Gromon, Gatomon, and Naruto jumped atop Darugamon and took flight as the rest of the champion-level Digimon rode theirs and took the old low road. The group moved quickly and made to the city just as they saw a news helicopter flying above the giant boar Deva. Kyuso. Oh well, it was inevitable, Naruto said. Yeah, Digimon will now be known to exist across the country. Or maybe the entire planet, Gatomon said. Well, secrecy was good while it lasted, Rika told Cubimon. True, but at least I don't have to hide in trees anymore, earning a chuckle from her tamer. No more hiding in the shed, Graumon. The people of Shinjuku are now about to learn that Digimon exist, Takato told his giant dinosaur Digimon. Does that mean I can now get more bread? Graumon asked. Henry and Gargamon sweat dropped at Growlmon when they heard that. Digimon are about to go public and you guys want to get bread? Henry and Gargamon asked simultaneously to Growlmon, who smiled. Hi, thus their sweat drops grew bigger. The group had finally arrived at the area of the city. They looked as Vikaralaman began to destroy everything, locking large red balls of destruction. So guys, you can fight a large boar, right? Naruto asked his fellow tamers. We're not that good at using our abilities, Takato said. Well, think of it as practical training. On second though, this is the real deal, so suck it up and get ready to fight. Naruto quickly took out 2 kunai, and suddenly they released slow humming sound as he encased the blades in wind chakra. Oh, okay, Takato stuttered and drew one of his kunai. Rika and Henry followed suit like Takato, shivering at the thought of actually having to fight for once. Don't be scared, they heard Naruto yell as they watched the giant boar come towards them. Suddenly they heard the sounds of jet engines as the military jets flew over the destroyed area of West Shinjuku. People were already evacuated and were being led away from the area by police and other members of authority. This just in, a large boar of some kind has just entered the West Shinjuku area. The military has just sent in its best pilots to try and stop the beast. The reporter in the new helicopter spoke through the microphone in her hand. The jets flew towards Vikaralaman, performed a barrel roll as the boar opened its mouth. Fusion ball. A large red ball flew from Vikaralaman's mouth and nearly hit the jets. Darugamon saw the large sphere of crimson heading towards them. Power metal. A rapid shot of metal spheres coated with electricity flew from the dragon Digimon's mouth and impacted with the fusion ball, causing a stalemate as the 2 attacks resulted in a small explosion. Quick men, use your giant pig maneuvers, a jet pilot radioed to his men. We have giant pig maneuvers? Another pilot asked before following the others and fired every single homing missile, heat-seeking missile and regular missiles, as well as using the built-in Gatling gun. Large explosion formed as the military weapons impacted with Vikaralaman. The military has just launched an all-out attack in hopes of killing the massive creature. Let's see if they did, the news reporter said. The smoke cleared, and to the surprise of the military and the new reporters, Vikaralaman was unharmed. That thing doesn't even have scratch on it, a jet pilot cried out in alarm. Let's get out of here. It's like that fight with that giant horse, the captain of the jet pilots said, and then the jets left the area. Alright, now that the military has left. Naruto turned to see his fellow Digimon tamers still shaking in fear as they saw the giant boar destroy their fair city. Are you sure you want to fight, or just let me and the Digimon handle it? Naruto asked. We could use you out there, Rika Cubamon said. At least use the jutsu you learned. No close combat, Naruto said, and thus earned a nod from them. Alright, Ikuzo. The blonde charged forwards with the 5 Digimon. Fusion ball. A large red ball flew from the boar's mouth, and Vikaralaman watched as it soared through the sky. But his eyes widened in surprise as he watched the red sphere halt in the air before being dispersed. A small blue sphere tearing through it as it became nothing. Nani? The boar Deva cried out in surprise. Udama Rasengan. Naruto roared and slammed the basketball-sized spiraling chakra ball against the snout of Vikaralaman. The giant boar snorted in pain as a large explosion formed and pushed him back and caused a decent amount of damage. Takato quickly held one hand to his chest and one hand in the air as he formed half a ram sign with each. Kirigakure no jutsu. He cried out. A large amount of mist formed in the sky above the large boar. Naruto. The brown-haired tamer cried out. The blonde nodded. Henry, set me up. The blonde cried out. Henry nodded and formed hand signs before slamming his hands on the ground. Doton, Dorihiki no Jutsu. A large amount of earth began to rise from underneath Vikaralaman with so much force that the boar was actually launched up into the air. Kirigakure no Jutsu. Naruto said and added a large amount of mist that melded with the one that Takato made. When enough mist was made, Naruto flashed through a large amount of hand signs at speeds no one could keep up with, unless you had the Sharingan. Suten, Suryuden no Jutsu. A large water dragon formed from the mist that Vikralaman was just below. The entire mist condensed and the water dragon roared to the heavens before spotting its master's target. The dragon descended and slammed into the large boar with tremendous force, sending it down onto the ground, creating a crater as well as soaking the boar. Rika-chan, the blonde commanded. Rika nodded and performed some hand signs. Katon Enden. A large stream of fire flew from the fiery-headed girl. Now normally, since Rika was average in the use of this attack, the result wouldn't have had the effect it would normally have with a master such as Naruto. Of course, the blonde decided to help his girlfriend out a bit. Futon, Kamikaze no Jutsu. A large gust of wind flew from Naruto's hands, and just as the Katon Enden reached Vikralaman, the winds connected and thus a large storm of fire formed, burning the pig. We're having pork chops tonight. Darugumon cried out, thus it was the Digimon's cue to attack. Power metal! Darugumon fired a large amount of metal spheres and each electrically charged one hit dead-on as the boar howled in pain. Foxtail Inferno! The ghostly blue fireballs were launched from Cubimon's tails and swirled in a circle towards the large pig. Pyro Blaster! The large red and yellow fireball flew into the middle of the circle made by Cubimon's Foxtail Inferno before merging with it to form a large blue ball of fire. Gargo Laser! The emerald laser bullets merged with the ball of fire as it changed to a light bluish-green color. Digimodify, Flame Drum and Activate. Naruto swiped the card through Gatamon's bronze-colored Democrat Arkansas. Fire Rocket! Gatamon cried out as her being became surrounded by the flames of the embodiment of courage. Gatamon hissed as she flew towards the giant fireball made by the merged attacks, and her fire rocket suddenly turned pale white. All three champion-level attacks and the armor-level attack became one as Gatamon flew towards Vikralamon. Meteor Mash! Gatamon yelled the name of the attack and then impacted with the boar Deva. Vikralamon cried out in pain as part of his back where he was struck was surrounded by a column of white flames. Ag! The boar screamed as Gatamon jumped off, performing a backflip and landing deftly on her feet atop Darugumon's head. Nice shot, Gato-chan, her boyfriend said with a smirk. Arigato, Dorukuin, she replied as she watched the boar shake its large body to try and quell the flames. Fusion Ball! The large boar cried out. This time a green sphere was launched. Oh, why is it green? Rika asked. The green sphere descended upon the flaming boar and suddenly, Vikralamon was covered in a green aura. The flames that covered his body were gone in a flash, and suddenly the intense burns were healed as well, making Vikralamon good as new. Kyuso, the green ones heal, and the red ones destroy. It's a perfect combination for him. He must have a lot of stamina and could destroy the entire city. We have to stop him now. Darugumon roared. Yeah, was all the others could say. Let me handle this for a while. It has been a while since I've fought on my own, Naruto said. Naruto Kun. The others yelled in protest, but he held up his hand. Don't worry, if worse comes to worse I will retreat and will go ultimate, understood. The group was silent, but nodded. Baka, Tamer, Darugumon, and Gatamon growled. I'll be okay, you two. The blonde chuckled at his partners before forming a Kagebunshin. The Kagebunshin quickly added Chakra to Naruto's hand as he formed a Rasengan. Udama Rasengan! Naruto crashed his large orb of Chakra against Vikralamon again. Vikralamon skidded backwards as Naruto continued to attack. Doton, Doryuden no Jutsu, a large earth dragon, about twice the size of a Hummer limousine, rose from the bowels of the earth and struck the large Deva. Vikralamon growled before forming a red sphere. Take this, human! Fusion Ball! The large red sphere flew towards the blonde shinobi, but Naruto quickly drew on Kyuubi's chakra and formed hand signs. Futon, Kaze no Yaiba, a large wind blade formed in Naruto's hands and the attack sliced that of the Devas in half. Naruto then ran and threw his wind blade, stabbing the Deva in the back, literally. Then Naruto ran towards Vikralamon and drew on his large chakra pools. Taju Kagebunshin no Jutsu! Naruto yelled. Everyone's eyes bugged out of their heads as they saw well over 1,000, at least 4,000 clones of the blonde shinobi jump into the air and descend upon the boar, each with a Rasengan in hand. Naruto Ninpu, Naruto Yansen Rasengan Renden / Naruto's ninja art, Naruto 4,000 Rasengan Barrage. The 4,000 clones yelled before thrusting the spiraling chakra spheres from all sides. Vikralamon threw out and stabbed a few hundred clones before they could hit him, but the numbers proved too great, and at least 3,000 and something clones impacted their Rasengans into the boar Deva's flesh, tearing through it. A large explosion of chakra resulted from the impact of so many Rasengans. After the clones puffed away, and the smoke of the explosion cleared, Vikralamon was shown to still be there. After all, a beast of his size would have been able to survive, even if it was just barely. Fusion Ball, the boar Deva managed to shoot a green sphere upon his body and heal most of his wounds and was able to stand once more, causing the blonde to curse quite loudly. Kagebunshin no Jutsu! Naruto cried out as he formed 4 clones, using his favorite cross-shaped hand sign. All 5 Narutos went through hand signs before readying their attacks. Katon, Karawenden no Jutsu / Fire Style, Fire Dragon Blast Jutsu! A large fire dragon blasted from one clone's mouth. Doton, Doryuden no Jutsu / Earth Style, Earth Dragon Blast Jutsu! A large earth dragon rose from the broken, cracked streets as the second clone slammed its hands on the ground. Suton, Suryuden no Jutsu / Water Style, Water Dragon Blast Jutsu! The water in the air condensed as the third clone formed a similarly sized water reptile that roared like its brethren, speeding towards the giant boar. Raiten, Reryuenden no Jutsu / lightning style, lightning dragon blast jutsu. The fourth clone clapped its hands together after forming its hand signs before swirling its arms, like a turbine. Yellow and blue lightning bolts sparked from the tips of its right hand before letting the hand point outwards like a knife. Then large amounts of electricity flew from the clone's fingertips and morphed into a large lightning dragon. Furton, Furyuenden no Jutsu / wind style, wind dragon blast jutsu. The original Naruto took a deep breath. Wind swirling into his mouth before exhaling and releasing the winds, morphing them into the likeliness of a dragon. The 5 elements flew towards Vikaraman and then merged, becoming a large fusion of the elements. Now stay down, Goderyuenden no Jutsu / elemental dragon blast jutsu. The blonde yelled the name of his all-powerful attack, but Vikaraman was able to at least fire an attack and counter the large elemental reptile. Boar bog! Vikaraman cried out, and opened his jaws and launched large glob of blank gunk. The gunk was made of very thick and elastic material, similar to that of tar. The dragon roared, its violet eyes shining before impacting with the large glob of black. The boar bog exploded as the dragon crashed into the elemental dragon, and thus both attacks cancelled each other out. The tar-like attack was able to hold its own and was annihilated as it took the entire force of one of Naruto's most powerful attacks. Naruto's blue eyes widened in shock. No way! The blonde fell to his knees as he watched the boar. Impossible! That was one hell of an attack, and it blocked it, Gataman said in surprise. Naruto stood and then turned to face the others. He formed a cage bunshin and took out both of his diarchs. Alright, you 5 ready, because we're going ultimate and don't fucking hold back, Naruto said as he held the blue card. It shone in the evening light, the pixelated D and the Digimon on its front engulfed in the glow. Calumet smiled as the upside 0 unit on his forehead glowed brighter than ever before. The other tamers took out their blue cards and their diarchs and readied them. Ikuzo, Digimodify, Matrix Digivolution activate. The tamers all yelled, Matrix Digivolution. Grolman Matrix Digivove 2. A carbon copy of the Matrix crystal flew around Growlmon before settling itself into the nose where the inverted 0 unit lay on Grolman's snout. The 0 unit glowed as Growlmon underwent his transformation. Growlmon grew in size and his torso was suddenly surrounded by an armor casing made of chrome digits. 2 vernier were attached to his shoulders, and an assault balancer extended like a cable from the back section of the torso armor. His arms were encased in black metal, and along the edges of the black metal casing were long, curved, chrome digis blades. A metal, muzzle-like armor was formed around its jaws, but it didn't act like a muzzle as he could still open and close his jaws. The harness for the blades were adorned with the symbol of the digital hazard, and the Digi code on its stripes reads, which translated to digital monster. The digivolved form of Growlmon roared before slashing its blades in a menacing way, yelling his name. Wargrolman, Matrix Digivolution. Gataman Matrix Digivolve 2. Gataman glowed a bronze-gold color as her body lengthened and became more humanoid. Her tail retracted into her body and 8 angelic wings grew on her back. Her ears became a small pair of angelic wings that were connected to a steel helmet that covered her eyes and nose. Long, flowing blonde hair cascaded down her back from her head like a waterfall of gold. A white outfit covered her previously naked body, leaving only a bit of her stomach and her upper thighs visible. 2 wing-shaped cups covered her breasts in a makeshift bra of some sort, and a long pink ribbon with digicode printed along it was wrapped around her arms. A pair of galves that stretched to her forearms appeared, and finally a pair of boots. The one on her left looked like a regular high-heel boot that was apparently a part of the leotard-like bodysuit she was wearing, while the one on her right was relatively normal if you didn't count the fact it was completely covered with pure white feathers. Her ring from her tail became wrapped around her left ankle. Her 8 angelic wings flapped majestically. Angewoman, Darugamon Matrix Digivolve 2. Darugamon's entire body was encased in what looked like liquid metal, solidifying over his body. Darugamon's body was then changed within the metal cocoon, which could be seen from the external look of the metal covering. The metal then broke and revealed the ultimate level Digimon. The 2 front limbs grew longer, and then the dragon Digimon dropped onto all 4s. The tail lengthened and began to twist along the length, and at the tip was a large golden spike of some sort. The dragon's face had elongated, looking for reptilian looking. A large blade made the horn that grew from his snout. 2 pairs of steel-colored wings. The lining surrounding the wings was a darker shade of gray than the membrane. 5 golden rings lined the skin that surrounded the lining of the membrane, each having 1 sharp golden spike on the rings. The back pair of wings were slightly smaller than the frontal pair. The dragon was covered with red fur with black zigzag markings. The nose area, feet, and underside of the dragon was snow white, just like the mane which ran down its back. The mane ending at the end of the long neck the dragon had. 4 gray, steel spikes jutted out of the neck of the ultimate level dragon Digimon, 2 on each side. The ears were more pointed. 3 long, sharp black claws poised to kill grew out of each foot, and its teeth were lined with many pearly white teeth. His crimson-red eyes glowed with power along with the old interface that remained on his forehead before releasing a roar to heavens. Doragreemon, Matrix Digivolution. Gargamon Matrix Digivolve 2. Gargamon fired a few glowing bullets as he was suddenly surrounded by a glowing field of data. His body then disintegrated into data before reforming. Gargamon grew taller, skinnier, and his leg muscles more lean and muscular. Then the bullets he fired before encircled him before forming armor. 2 green and silver armor-like boots were worn on its feet. A green orb-like armor covered its lower abdominal muscles, groin, and a part of the upper thigh area. The red triangle from Gargamon's forehead was placed in the center of the orb-shaped armor. Black arm stockings covered his arms as 2 large missile launchers covered his hands and lower arms. 3 crimson points came out of the rim of the launchers in a triangle formation, making it look like claws. 2 large shoulder pads, made of green and silver armor, were formed. His ears were extended and covered in green armor that was tipped red. Its chest and head, except for the face area, was covered with green and silver armor also. A long, sharp horn formed from the forehead area of the armor plating. Finally, a large missile launcher-looking weapon was attached to its back. The Digimon's large blue eyes glowed before a mouth covering formed from the head armor. A/N, like Optimus Prime when he goes into fights, he puts up that jaw shield-looking thing. Rapidmon, Matrix Digivolution. Cubimon Matrix Digivolve 2. Cubimon was encircled by blue flames and a shining white light. Her form suddenly lengthened and became more human-looking. Violet pants formed on her legs as a white, long-sleeved robe-like shirt formed on her upper body that covered her large hand-like paws. A black hat was worn on the Fox Digimon's head, with violet stems of cloth coming down from it. A yin-yang symbol lay in the center of the shirt, and a belt was worn around the waist that attached a large paintbrush to her back. On a long piece of cloth that extended from the shirt from the stomach area to the knees, a golden Sanskrit word was written, meaning truth. The large blonde, white-tipped tail waved behind her. She spun on large feet-like paws before allowing her hands to be seen and making the Japanese hand sign for Ram. Tamer, Hypnos HQ. Sir, there are news reports coming from every single news station on television. It's no use, sir. They know about Digimon now, and we can't do anything, Riley told Yamaki as he smashed a cigarette he was holding on the ground. Shit. Well, fire up the Juggernaut X. We need to stop it before it can destroy any more of the city. Sir? Tally Onodera, the other computer genius that worked along with Riley, spoke. What? The shades-wearing blonde bellowed, obviously pissed. Sir, you might want to see this. Tally quickly typed a few keys, and then on a large screen they showed a news camera showing a large amount of people, nearly 4,000, thrusting spheres of what looked like energy at the beast Digimon that came forth from the digital world. Then when the people vanished in puffs of smoke, 5 dragons, made out of the elements, were seen flying at Vikaralamon. It's that Gaki, Naruto, and he seems to be beating the monster, Yamaki said in surprise. The blonde shinobi didn't have a close-up since the news camera didn't have that much zooming capabilities. However, after a large black blob had seemed to have stopped the elemental dragons, they saw a large bright red light. The bright red light vanished, and suddenly there were 5 large Digimon. Good evening, this is Sora Toshihiro from Channel 6 News on the latest scoop that is quickly being called Armageddon. Earlier this evening, what seems to be a giant boar-like creature began a rampage and destroyed many buildings in the West Shinjuku area, many deaths with a minor amount being able to survive with fatal injuries. These people were not able to be found, however, since the giant boar had blocked the road that led to that area. Right now, the West Shinjuku is being declared a hazardous area, and the entire population of the West Shinjuku area are being migrated to other parts of the city by the authorities. Furthermore, it seems that more of these creatures, that sources tell us to be known as Digimon, have arrived. However, they seem to fighting against the giant boar. Also, it seems that there seems to be another creature that holds characteristics similar to that of a human's. A blurred image, due to the flying debris damaging the news helicopter's camera, of Naruto was frozen and put onto the screen surrounded by his army of 4,000 clones for the world to see. This individual possessed superhuman powers and has managed to push back the giant Digimon. Our hopes now lie in the hands of those other monsters that are fighting the boar, and the humanoid creature. Sora stopped talking as she quieted down to view the fight. the news camera being fixed on the battle from the aerial view. The red flash filled the camera's lens and suddenly the images of the ultimate level Digimon of the Tamer appeared on the screen. No way. I recognize those Digimon, Yamaki said. You do? Is it the kid's Digimon? Riley asked. No doubt about it, the blonde head of Hypnos replied to his head computer programmer. Do you still want me to use the Juggernaut X? Riley asked. Yamaki gritted his teeth as he weighed his options. Let the town be destroyed during the ensuing chaos, although knowing full well that the Digimon of the children could defeat the large boar, or use the Juggernaut X and stop any chaos from even starting and also getting rid of any other Digimon. He decided to go with the latter. Use the Juggernaut X. Destroy those monsters. Hi, Yamaki, Tally, and Riley complied with the order and furiously began to type on the keys of their keyboards. Rapid fire! Rapidmon shouted as he fired both missiles from the cannons on his arms. Both missiles flew towards Vikaralaman, intent on destroying the Bordeva. Their normally impassive faces changed into happy smiles as if the missiles were happy about what they were about to blow up. Pitiful attack, the Bordeva cried out before lashing out with his tusks. Both ivory tusks struck the two missiles and sent them veering off course and crashing into two separate buildings. The missiles detonated and caused both buildings to collapse and crumble into rubble. Taumon rushed forth and struck with a powerful kick to the snout of Vikaralaman, but the boar used its endurance to not even budge from the force of the kick and made an upwards movement, sending Taumon skyward. But since the mystical Kitsune Digimon could fly, it proved to be no effect as gravity did not have its hold on her. Tao then drew the Sanskrit symbol for light in the air with her brush, tattooing the air. The symbol became dark and then flashed gold before imprinting itself onto Vikaralaman's body, and then flashed between red and black. Talisman of Light. The humanoid Kitsune howled as she formed the ninjutsu hand sign for Ram. The tattooed Sanskrit symbol glowed red before detonating in a flash of light and fire. Vikaralaman squealed in pain as the explosion rocked the streets that were far from being usable. Wardrollman charged and his arm blades glowed with blue energy before raising both arms and slamming them down onto the ground. Radiation Blade. Wardrollman roared as two large arcs of blue energy were released from the chrome Digi's blades. The energy arcs raced across the ground towards Vikaralaman. Fusion Ball. A red sphere of energy was launched from the Bordeva's mouth. The large sphere impacted with the two blue energy arcs and caused a large shockwave and a dust cloud to form. Using it as a cover, Angewoman flew through it and then punched the boar full in the forehead, sending its large head reeling back from the blow before flying upwards and then forming her angelic bow. Celestial Arrow. The 8-winged angelic Digimon yelled as she fired an arrow of light from her bow that materialized out of nowhere. The arrow flew straight and true and tore through thick fur, blubber, and flesh, causing a deep wound in the David Digimon. Angewoman then fired 3 more arrows. The 4 arrows then released pulses of light energy that were in the form of what seemed to be white lightning. Vikaralaman then squealed again as Dorugreymon flew down and attacked. Bloody Tower! The Crimson Dragon of Steel roared before striking out with the golden spike-tipped tail. The spike impaled itself through the Bordeva's forehead before being dragged across in a sideways motion, leaving a large gaping slash in the Bordeva's head. Vikaralaman roared before lashing out with very single body part that was movable. His tusks slammed into Dorugreymon, sending the dragon into the rubble of what used to be an apartment building. He then woodly fired fusion balls, all of them crimson, meaning they were destructive in nature. Due to their numbers, some managed to hit the tame Digimon and send them into the ground or into buildings/rubble. Dorugreymon roared as he burst through his earthen prison, debris flying in every which way. The 4-winged dragon looked around to see that his friends and girlfriend had been knocked away by energy spheres. The boar then turned to the dragon, wounds visible to all before smirking. Fusion Ball. The Bordeva cried out before firing a red sphere while firing a green sphere the second after from his large mouth. The red one was launched at Dorugreymon, while the green one landed only a few centimeters from the Bordeva. Dorugreymon quickly flapped his wings in one powerful motion that sent him skywards and then dove down like a missile. While Dorugreymon neared Vikaralaman, the green sphere was inhaled by Vikaralaman, and the Bordeva was surrounded by a green glow before his wounds began healing, although scars remained due to the intensity of the attacks that hit. Dorugreymon roared as he swooped down on his still healing boar and left 5 claw marks as he tore away synthesized flesh from the digital monster. You little insect, siding with the humans and daring to attack me, Adeva, why I ought to send you straight to the Sovereign One and AGGGHHH. Vikaralaman howled in rage and pain as Dorugreymon cleaved yet another wound in the Deva. Naruto cursed as he formed hand signs. He looked as Dorugreymon attacked from the sky and as the rest of the Digimon got up and began to fight back again. Dotun, Dorihiki no Jutsu, Naruto cried as he slammed his palms on the ground. The large wall of earth rose from the bowels of the broken streets to protect them. Kyuso, we need to find a way to attack the blonde shinobi, Tamer growled. But they are all crowding around that piece of pork. We can't get a clear shot, Henry stated. What do we do? Takato mumbled. At that question the three preteens looked at the pissed-off blonde. Naruto looked with a confused look as he saw them staring at him. What? Well, Rika urged. Naruto's eyebrow rose. Well, what? They all sighed and muttered a silent baka in their minds. Well, you are the idea man, what should we do? Takato said. Naruto immediately jumped to his feet and backed up against the earth wall. Nani? He exclaimed, I'm not a leader, I can't tell you all what to do. Naruto, you were the one who trained us. You made us stronger, you. Rika was cut off as her boyfriend spoke. Rika-chan, Henry, Takato. I'm not what you think I am. Naruto took a deep breath and suddenly he raised his voice, causing everyone to flinch. I'm a failure. I was banished from my village, was not able to even find a way to find salvation in my own universe. I came here by sheer coincidence. This universe does not need someone like me. I can't even fight right now to help my partners. Naruto pointed his finger at the earth wall, gesturing to the other side. Slap! Everyone's eyes widened as they saw Rika suddenly lash out and slap Naruto right across his face, leaving a red handprint from the impact. Listen to me, Naruto-kun. You are not a failure. You helped everyone you made friends with here in our universe. You helped our Digimon become stronger. You helped us become stronger, and right now you are helping the people of this city to survive by fighting with us. So, don't ever call yourself a failure. Rika smirked before kissing him on the lips for a few seconds. We need you, now more than ever, Naruto. Now come up with a plan to get us out of this mess. Naruto blinked before shaking his head and nodding. Determination filled his sapphire blue eyes and a smirk of confidence stretched across his face. You're right. Now then, let's get this board, David, Naruto said before snapping his fingers, thus disrupting the chakra flow that kept the earth wall up, and it crumbled. The four then looked and gaped at what they saw. The fighting had stopped, but it was not by choice, for up in the sky a large vortex spun. The vortex was a mass of spiraling blue and black matter, the edges covered with flakes of red, green and blue data. Grr! Yamaki! Naruto roared as he looked at the vortex that represented the Juggernaut X program. The Digimon present suddenly stretched vertically before returning to normal as the vortex tried to pull them all in. No! I'm not letting you take us, Dorugramon growled. His eyes glowed along with the old interface on his forehead. The ultimate level Digimon opened his jaws and released a blue beam of data that looked like a laser. The beam entered the Juggernaut X program and began to mix with it before there was a large flash of white and blue. The Juggernaut X program vortex suddenly began to swirl rapidly and grew in size. What the hell? That was supposed to stop it! Dorugramon exclaimed in surprise, but then watched in relief along with the other Digimon and their tamers as the vortex stopped spinning before exploding into white flakes of data. The fighting then quickly resumed. Takato, Henry and Rika then took a few steps forward and flashed through hand signs to get ready to strike. Mateo Naruto stopped them before they could do anything. The three preteens turned and then saw Naruto in front of all of them with his hands glowing blue with the chakra he had surrounding them. Here, just a little helping hand, Naruto said before going through hand signs. He then touched each of their foreheads and suddenly the three young tamers felt a rush of power as a large amount of chakra was shoved into their systems, thus increasing their chakra reserves, and they also felt a slight headache as they suddenly learned the hand signs and how to use three of Naruto's most powerful techniques. The chakra I gave you is only temporary, and the jutsu I used allowed me to give you that large amount of chakra and not harm you from the excess chakra. You all now have Jounin level chakra and the jutsus I gave you are at the same level. Now then, the jutsus I gave you all from implanting the information I just gave you into your brains will not leave you, but as I said before, when you use these jutsus, your chakra capacity will return to normal and you will feel slight exhaustion as a side effect, Naruto explained to them. The blonde then turned away and began to run. Mateo, Naruto-kun, where are you going? A little run, he said as he flashed through hand signs to perform one of the Namikaze Kekai Genkai Jutsu. Jin-tun. Ansaku no Jutsu / Speed Style, Speed of Sound Jutsu. Then before the eyes of the younger tamers, in 1 second Naruto was standing right in front of them, and then in the other second, there was a resounding boom as Naruto broke the sound barrier, moving at 330 meters per second. A/N, that is the speed of sound, in case anyone was wondering. The three tamers then turned back and saw their Digimon attacking the large boar Deva. Boar Bog. Vikralaman launched a large black tar-like substance from his maw and struck Rapidmon and Taumon, sending them to the ground and immobilizing the duo. Radiation Blade. Wargroman roared before bringing down both his glowing blue blades on the boar deva, thus causing 2 large gashes to form on the boar deva's body. Wargroman then spun and slammed his thick heavy tail against the snout of Vikralaman, sending him back. Ingewoman fired 3 arrows with a cry of celestial arrow. The arrows of light embedded themselves into the flesh of Vikralaman before Dorugraman took to the skies and then released a small sphere of metal that grew to be 10 times the size of the Crimson Dragon. Set him up for me, Dorugraman shouted to the others below him. Fusion Ball. Vikralaman charged a large crimson sphere in his jaws before firing it at Dorugraman. Atomic Blaster. Wargroman cried out as the gunports on his chest glowed crimson before releasing powerful twin beams of energy that impacted with the fusion ball, causing a large explosion to form in the air. Now! Dorugraman yelled, seeing the opening for his friends to make. Taumon and Rapidmon managed to break out of the boar bog attack and then charged forth with the others. Wargroman charged and shoulder tackled the boar deva, sending it back before Taumon formed a hand sign and then drew her brush and wrote the Sankrit symbol for Array. The symbol suddenly began to spin and became that of a star. Talisman Star! The blonde Kitsune roared before hurling the star of golden light. The star flew and sliced through both thick ivory tusks, thus causing both pain and ridding the boar of its troublesome weapons. Rapid Fire! Rapidmon cried out and fired 2 missiles from his cannons on his arms again, and both finally hit their mark and caused a large explosion, burning the boar's flesh and sending it off the ground. Angewoman then took the offensive and struck with a powerful fist covered with light energy. The boar deva was sent flying through the air. Kalyaman, A/N. I know I haven't mentioned him throughout most of the chapter, giggled as he watched his friends fighting. Yeah, beat him up, guys, he shouted, making punching motions with his fingerless hands. Alright, Minasan Akuzo, Takato yelled. Henry and Rika nodded as the 3 flashed through long strings of hand signs. Takato finished first before clapping his hands together. The water began to condense in the air before shooting off towards Vikralaman at unbelievable speeds. Sutin, Kiba no Hidora / water style, Hydra's fangs. The water morphed into a multi-headed serpent that looked like a mixture of a dragon, Komodo dragon, snake and salamander. Odd combination, I know. The Hydra of water then opened its mouth and bit down on Vikralaman, thus halting the flying boar deva's movements, while also damaging it. Henry was the second to finish. He then clapped his hands before slamming them on the ground. Doton, Suryoka Kaijin / Earth style, Titan's Might. The earth beneath the Hydra-covered boar suddenly rumbled as a pair of large earthen fists rose and crashed into Vikralaman's back, sending him upwards. Metal Meteor! Dorugraman roared as he finally saw his chance, and launched a large sphere of steel at the rising Vikralaman. Rika smirked as she finally finished her hand signs, having the most to form before taking a deep breath and aimed for the Metal Meteor attack. Katon, Gakido no Phoenikusa / Fire style, Phoenix's Rage. Rika took a deep inhale of air before exhaling powerfully to release an extremely powerful blast of blue flame. The blue fire blast rocketed through the air, briefly taking the image of a phoenix. The phoenix screeched as it crashed into the metal meteor, and since metal is a good conductor of heat, the metal meteor was coated in blue fire, and then the attack impacted with Vikralaman. An explosion formed in the air. Vikralaman let out one last squeal before vanishing as red flakes of data as he died. The fire blast burned out, and suddenly all the Digimon fell to the ground. Dorugraman managing to use what little strength he had left to land softly on the ground. We won, Wargroman said with a smirk beneath his power-regulating muzzle. The others chuckled before smiling. We did it! They all screamed simultaneously. Sure, they were exhausted, the Digimon injured. The entire area that made the battlefield was now reduced to rubble, burning materials and cracked earthen streets. But they won. Meanwhile, Naruto ran across the roads, bypassing anyone that was in the streets with ease before taking to the roofs of the houses and buildings, and then jumped from rooftop to rooftop until he stopped. He skidded to a halt as he reached the entrance of the, to his surprise, smoking Hypnos towers. It was attacked. Maybe there was a slight malfunction that caused the Juggernaut X to go out of control back there before it disappeared, Naruto mused. His ears twitched as he listened for anyone in the building. No footsteps. Naruto concluded that they must have all evacuated. However, to Naruto's surprise, he looked up and before him he saw a floating boy. The boy was wearing a yellow shirt with purple overalls, red shoes and a large red hat. Ha ha! The boy laughed, which actually sounded more like a monkey's to Naruto's ears as a ball of white energy formed in the boy's hands. The boy suddenly warped his form and changed into a 7-foot-tall monkey wearing a purple and gold armor-like shirt, gray kung fu pants, gold and purple shoes and a gold and purple hat with the kanji for Sarus/monkey on the front of it. Naruto took out his Democrat Arkansas as he saw Makuramon pelt the ball of energy, and it caused the area that was hit to burst into another column of smoke and flame. Makuramon, Ultimate Level Naruto Red, follower of Baihomen. He is said to be very mischievous and can move with cat-like agility. He is more suited to stealth-related missions. His attacks are Treasure Ball and Primal Orb. Oh, what the hell do you think you're doing? Naruto yelled, jumping to the roof of a nearby building. The monkey turned and smirked. Oh well, if it isn't the annoying human with superpowers that the Sovereign One told me about, Makuramon said. So the old bird told you about me. Then Naruto formed a Rasengan in his hand. You should know you should stop whatever it is you're doing or be eradicated. Oh please. These humans in this building were interfering without plan and… The conversation halted as a loud explosion echoed throughout the air. A ball of blue flame filled the space where the battle between the Tamers and the Deva was taking place. Ha! Vikaraman was probably killed just now because I know the attacks that Baka Ino/idiot boar wouldn't be able to do something like that, Naruto said with a smirk. Makuramon growled before smirking. And the plan is going following just as the Sovereign One planned it, Makuramon said before turning and giving a large toothy grin towards Naruto. You know our main goal. And this was just a distraction. Makuramon suddenly took off at a speed Naruto couldn't believe. His main goal. Naruto's eyes widened as he realized what the monkey Deva meant. Calumet. The blonde shinobi pumped chakra into his leg muscles and took off after the monkey Deva. In a matter of seconds, the blonde caught up to Makuramon. Makuramon, do not do this! The blonde yelled. Ha ha! The monkey cackled, and before they knew it, the chased and chaser had made it to the fighting area. Makuramon quickly spotted Calumet and in one fluid motion, went towards the white cream puff of a Digimon and scooped him up. I got him! I got him! Makuramon cheered. Naruto dropped down in front of the monkey Deva and looked to see his friends tired and down. Naruto-kun, Rika panted. What's going on? That monkey is a Deva. He's taking Calumet and now I'm going to stop him. Naruto quickly drew a kunai and threw it at the money Deva, who quickly tucked Clawman beneath his arm and grabbed the kunai out of the air and chucked it back at the shinobi. Naruto growled as he ducked and then ran towards Makuramon. Naruto then released a swift right punch and struck home. Calumet flew out of the Deva's hands from the impact and rolled on the ground as he watched Naruto beat up the money Deva. Yay, go Naruto! Calumet cheered. Naruto roared in rage as he followed up with a left hook to the face. He went down low and performed a sweep kick, tripping Makuramon before using a powerful uppercut. The uppercut hit dead on the monkey Deva's chin, sending him upwards. Naruto jumped and did a backflip, landing another kick to the monkey's chin, sending him up higher. The blonde shinobi jumped and grabbed the monkey Deva's ankles and spun in the air, using the several front flips to build momentum and slam Makuramon on the ground. An imprint of the Deva was formed on the street from the force of the slam. Naruto then swung Makuramon into the ground before throwing him up and then formed hand signs and slammed his hands on the ground. Doton, Ichizen Ken/Earth style, 1,000 fists. Naruto cried out and then the earth rumbled beneath him. 1,000 fists of stone, concrete and other earthen materials rose from the ground and pummeled Makuramon. Naruto then jumped into the air and performed a roundhouse kick, sending Makuramon into the side of a building. Makuramon panted as he fell to the ground, but his punishment for an attempted kidnapping of one of Naruto's friends was not over. Naruto grabbed the monkey Deva by the throat and then threw him across the street. The blonde then used chakra to increase his speed and performed the speed-style combo that he learned from his father's scroll. A resounding boom formed as Naruto took off. Naruto appeared beneath the falling Makuramon and then performed an upward kick, balancing on his left arm and leg. The kick slammed into the chest of the money Digimon, sending him skywards. A boom following shortly afterwards as Naruto's blows began to move faster than the speed of sound. Naruto then jumped up and punched Makuramon rapidly in the face and stomach before performing a roundhouse that sent Makuramon through the air. He then landed on the ground and ran across the broken streets and jumped and performed a bicycle kick that struck Makuramon in the face and landed again before jumping up once more and performing multiple front flips to slam Makuramon on the ground. But Naruto never lost his momentum as he spun around quickly and threw Makuramon upwards. Naruto then channeled chakra into his legs and jumped high enough to be above the rising Makuramon. Naruto then flipped and performed an axe kick to the solar plexus, knocking out the wind from Makuramon's synthesized lungs. As Makuramon fell, Naruto straightened his body and flashed through hand signs. Jinten, Jin Burika Rindan / Speed Style, Soundbreaker Barrage. Naruto roared as he held his fist back. His fist descended upon the damaged monkey Deva. The fist moved so fast it broke the sound barrier. Twice. However, just as Naruto was about to strike the final blow, above the clouds, the sky ripped apart. Suddenly a large shadow of a bird formed in the rip. A large wire frame patterned the inside of the rift that ripped the sky. A stream of fire suddenly rocketed at speeds that exceeded even that at which Naruto was moving at and struck the blonde shinobi. However, since Naruto never noticed the attack, he was struck in the chest by the fiery missile, and sent him flying back and skidding along the streets. His clothes were burned away and his skin on his chest and some of his stomach was burnt too. Kyuubi immediately began to try and heal the damage. Naruto! The others cried out in alarm at seeing their friend / Tamer struck by the blazing attack. Daruk Raymond and Angewoman growled, but they were too tired to move. They then directed their eyes to the sky, and as they looked up, just like everyone's eyes, who had looked to the skies to see where the attack came from, widened as they saw the large rift in the sky. A large fiery stream descended from the rift as the large shadow of the bird moved its wings. The flame moved and took on the likeness of a hand and scooped up Makuraman, who had fallen unconscious from the pain, and then also took Kalyaman, who had tried to run away from the scary firearm. Naruto grunted as he looked up in time to see his little cream puff friend being taken right before his eyes towards the rift. No, Kalyaman! Naruto struggled to reach towards in a feeble attempt to try and reclaim his friend. He then looked up and noticed the shadow of a bird, or rather, a phoenix. Naruto growled in rage. His rage caused him to pull on Kyuubi's chakra, but only enough to have his eyes flash crimson. Tsukuya Munmun! The blonde roared to the heavens as the rift closed. Naruto grunted in pain as he shifted into a sitting position. He beat his fist into the ground and a tear fell from his eye. Kyuso. A few days after the attack, Naruto was walking towards school since the school hadn't been anywhere near the attack. Actually, none of the Tamers' homes were near the battleground, but still many died on that day. The day Vikaralaman attacked, and the day Kalyaman was taken. However, Naruto paused when a black Honda car pulled up next to him. The windows were tinted so Naruto couldn't see who was inside, but his question was answered as the window was lowered and Naruto saw the face of the blonde owner of Hypnos. He growled, Yamaki, what do you want? I want to talk. Only that, and besides it's only 7:20, you have a good 40 minutes before school starts, Yamaki said. He opened the door to the passenger side of the car. Naruto looked a bit suspicious, but he complied. The blonde shinobi looked around before entering the car. So what do you want? Well, ever since the attack on that area of West Shinjuku, the paparazzi and other forms of media have been covering up the entire topic that Digimon are in fact real. There is nothing we can do to stop the public now that the entire population of Shinjuku, heck, I bet even the entire country of Japan or even the world knows of their existence, Yamaki said. Naruto frowned. Yeah, secrecy was a key element in this little thing we had going on, Naruto said. Now then, what I need you for is that, well, I need your entire group of friends, Yamaki said. What do you need us for? Naruto was puzzled. Yamaki would have never asked for their help, but these were dire times and certain things, such as pride, needed to be pushed aside. Reminds me of Sasuke team, Naruto thought as he looked at Yamaki's eye. Well, you see, using what was left of our equipment, we discovered that the rift that everyone saw a few days ago was actually from the digital world leading to the real world. Yeah, I kinda figured that when I saw the giant Digimon that kidnapped one of my friends, another Digimon, Kalyaman. Naruto muttered the name of his kidnapped cream puff. Well, I think we can both help each other out. Well, the rift managed to cause a large amount of data to be released into the real world from the digital world. The data that was released was then spread across the city and accumulated into one spot, and thus it formed an anomaly of some sort, Yamaki explained. Continue, Naruto stated, his interest perked. Well, we believe the data accumulation anomaly to be a portal into the digital world, Yamaki said. Naruto's eyes widened and he immediately latched onto Yamaki. Tell me, where is this portal? Naruto demanded. Yamaki pushed Naruto off of his and dusted his suit as if Naruto infected it or something. Well, here's the thing. If we tell you where this portal is, you are to follow the instructions I give to do while you are in there, Naruto groaned. What are they? I only have one. Get in, save your friend, and when you do, find a way to close that portal so that no more Digimon can enter the real world ever again, Yamaki said. Naruto was silent as he thought it over before nodding. Where is the portal? Naruto asked. It's somewhere in Shinjuku Park. Meet me. You will meet us by the shed by the abandoned part of the park. Tomorrow. Noon, Naruto told the Hypnos executive. Yamaki bit his lip from yelling for being interrupted, but complied with a nod. But isn't that during school? Hi, Naruto replied with a smirk. Yamaki looked shocked before smirking. I like the way you think. Namikaze Yamaki opened the door and allowed Naruto to leave. The blonde shinobi nodded to his fellow blonde before using the telepathic mind link that Tamers had with their Digimon. Doraemon. Gataman Naruto spoke through his mental link. Hi, Naruto, they replied. Come into school at noon tomorrow, no hiding. Oh, and make a nice entrance, will you? Naruto added with a smirk. Naruto could imagine the surprise on his Digimon's faces. Sure, but why tomorrow? They asked. To pack, get ready and have the others reveal their Digimon to their families because starting then, we're going to the digital world to rescue Calumet. Time skip end of school. Naruto, Henry and Takato were walking home together, and Naruto relayed the information he learned from Yamaki. So there is a way to rescue Calumet? Henry asked. Hi, Naruto replied. So when do we leave? Takato asked. Tomorrow. Tell your parents about your Digimon today because, well, they already know about their existence, Naruto said with a shrug. I assume you've already told Rika? Henry asked. Naruto nodded. Texted her during break, he replied. Naruto turned away and began to walk towards his own house. I'll see you all tomorrow. Don't forget, Shinjuku Park, Gilman's shed at noon. Don't be late, he said with seriousness in his tone. The two preteens nodded and Henry left for home, while Takato actually headed for the park. Later that day, 8 p.m., Henry's apartment. Henry and Terriermon were in Henry's room looking at each other. So, you ready for this? Henry asked. Terriermon nodded, of course, but the question remains, are you? The dog-eared bunny Digimon asked. Henry sighed. I guess so. We need to rescue Calumet, and I can't leave them knowing that I've kept secrets from them for so long, the Asian tamer replied. Terriermon jumped atop Henry's head. Then let's go, Henry nodded and opened the door where he saw his entire family. Janyu, his mother Mayumi, his older brother, Rinchiai, his older sister, Jaren and Suzy all sitting there on the couch waiting to see why he had called them all together. Henry walked up to them with Terriermon atop his head. So son, what did you want to tell us? Janyu asked. The ex-Digimon maker looked as his son took a deep breath, as if he were about to leave and see them for the last time. Ota-san, Oka-chan, Suzy, Rinchiai, Jaren, there's something I need to tell you, the blue-haired boy said. You mean that your dream of having Digimon becoming real actually happened? Rinchiai asked. The eldest child was suddenly elbowed in the ribs by Jaren, who motioned for her younger brother to continue. Well, you see, I have actually always had a Digimon with me and I am a Digimon tamer, he admitted. He's right, Terriermon said, jumping off Henry's head and onto the coffee table. The rest of the Wong family stared in disbelief as they say Henry's toy come to life. Terriermon, your wheel? Suzy asked, earning a nod from the dog-eared bunny. Also, guys, I'm going to be going away for a while. You see, one of our friends, Calumet, was taken and… Well, hold it. Our friend as in, there is more of you tamers? Johnny asked. Henry nodded. Anyways, Calumet was taken to the digital world and we have found a way to get in, and so I'm telling you all this because WEL. I love you guys and I don't want there to be any secrets between us, Henry said. Mayumi looked at her son and glared at him. There is absolutely no way I am letting you go to this digital world. It sounded highly dangerous and… She froze as Janyu placed a hand on her shoulder. Mayumi, he spoke softly, and this caused Mayumi to tear up. Let him go. I'll help you pack for your trip. One backpack should be enough. After all, you would be converted to data in the digital world, and so your regular clothes should last the entire time you're there. Arigato, Ota-san, Henry said with tears lining his eyes. Mayumi couldn't take it, and suddenly hugged the blue-haired boy. The Green Democrat Arkansas-wielding tamer returned the hug, and suddenly everyone was surrounding Henry and telling him their goodbyes. Terriermon, you'll protect Henry, right? She asked. Terriermon smirked and gave her a thumbs up. No problem. I'll do whatever it takes to keep your Nikki safe. With Takato. Takato had went to the park during the night and managed to sneak Gilman in since the bakery was closed. Takato then walked by and saw that his parents were in the kitchen. Ota-san, Oka-chan? He called in a nervous tone. Takahiro, his father, and Yoshi, his mother, looked at him. His father putting the newspaper down, and his mother had just finished washing the dishes. Hi, Takato-kun? Yoshi asked. You guys know that Digimon exists now, right? Takato asked. Yeah, apparently it wasn't just imagination on your part, Takahiro said with a chuckle. Takato nodded and then walked in. There's something I need to show you too. Don't freak out. Takato, why on earth would we? Oh my Kami, what the hell is that thing? Yoshi and Takahiro cried out in alarm as Takato walked in, with Gilman following behind him. The Crimson Lizard looked at Takato's parents and smiled sheepishly while waving. Kabanwa, Takatamon's parents. Kabanwa, Large lizard monster Takahiro greeted with a nervous sweat drop. Look guys, I've been keeping this guy a secret from you too. His name is Gilman, and he's a Digimon. Those Digimon you saw fighting on the television, the large cyborg-looking one was mine. So he grew bigger, but he looks so much smaller than on the TV? Yoshi said. Well, after he digivolves, he can return to normal after the fight is over. Now then, well, you see, our friend's Calliman was taken by a Digimon when that rift in the sky opened, as you probably saw on the news, and we found a way into the digital world, which is where Digimon live, and we are going there in hopes of rescuing Calliman and bringing him back here to the real world where it is safe. But Takato, does that mean you've been doing all these dangerous things like fighting these Digimon? Yoshi asked. Takato nodded. Yoshi glared at her son and looked at her husband. Honey, tell Takato he is grounded for the rest of his life. Nanny? Both males shouted. Hi, Takato is just a boy. He's 12, he can't go out fighting all the time in this digital world. I'm worried he'll get hurt there or worse. Yoshi began to tear up at the mere thought of her son dying while in a digitally made-up world. Listen, honey, I think Takato should go, Takahiro said. Nanny! Takato and Yoshi cried out. Hi, he is old enough to make his own choices. He's 12 years old. We can't always be babying him and keeping him cooped up in this small house, Takahiro said, and then turned to Gilman. You will be there to protect him? Oh yeah, me, Terriermon, Henry, Rinamon, Rika, Doraemon, Gatomon and Narutomon, Gilman said with a smile. You mean, there are more of you Tamers? He just called human names, Henry and Rika. And who are those other Digimon? Yoshi asked rapidly. Hi, there are more Tamers. Rika, Nanaka and Henry Wong, my friends that I've told you about, are Tamers along with Naruto. Doraemon and Gatomon are Naruto's partners. Rinamon is Rika's and Terriermon is Henry's, Takato explained. You mean, the nice blonde boy that we've been selling bread to, owns a Digimon? To actually, Takato replied to his parents. Takahiro nodded before getting up and going over to the back where the stove and bread-making supplies were. Honey, what are you doing? Yoshi asked. Takato, when do you leave? We're going to meet up in the park at noon tomorrow. So you're skipping school? Oka-chan, my friend is more important. Besides, it'll be in the middle of math period. I'm not gonna learn anything important, he responded with a smile. Well, dear, we better get cracking and make some bread for the boy's journey. Oh boy, bread, Gilman said in excitement. Takato teared up and then hugged his parents. You guys are the best. We'll miss you too, Takato. With Rika, the moon shone over the rather large front yard of the Nanaka household. Rika, Makino and Seiko were all sitting on the small little bridge that stood over the 5-foot-deep pond that surrounded the wooden structure. So Rika-chan, what did you want to tell us? Makino asked. Rika took a deep breath and sighed as she mentally prepared herself for what she was about to tell her grandmother and mother. Oba-chan, Oka-chan, you know how on the news they said how that there was a Digimon battling with other Digimon? Of course, who wouldn't? I bet the entire country, if not the world, knows about what happened in Shinjuku, Makino said. Why? Well, because I was there and my Digimon was fighting in that battle, Rika said. Makino's eyes widened while Seiko remained impassive. What do you mean, your Digimon? Rika's mother asked. Rika then raised her head. Rinamon, she called out. In a blur of motion, Rinamon appeared in front of the pond, kneeling before the three females. I am Rinamon, a Digimon and your daughter/granddaughter's protector. It has been honor battling with her, the blonde Kitsune said. Makino's eyes widened as she watched Rinamon rise to her full height of 7 feet. Rika-chan. Makino paused as Seiko began to talk. So Rinamon, I trust you have been keeping my granddaughter out of trouble? Seiko asked. Renamon's eyes widened before nodding quickly. Hi. Well then, Seiko stood to her feet. Rika-chan, seeing as you have just told us this, is there anything else? Rika nodded as she stood up to look her grandmother in the eyes. Hi, Oba-chan. During our fight with the giant boar Digimon, Vikaralaman, there was a giant rift in the sky and then something grabbed one of our friends, another Digimon called Calliman. We have a friend who managed to find us a way into the digital world to rescue Calliman and bring him back here to the real world. As such, I might be gone for a few days, maybe weeks, Rika said. Nanny? Makino cried out. No, Rika-chan, I know that my job keeps us apart, but I still love you and you are my daughter and I am not having you go on some dangerous journey by yourself with just Rinamon. There are more of us Digimon tamers. Takato, Henry, even Naruto is one, Rika stated. Makino remained silent at that piece of information. So, when will you be leaving? Makino asked. Rika's eyes widened. We're leaving at. She was interrupted as Seiko spoke. So you, Rinamon, Naruto, Takato and Henry are all going to this digital world by yourselves with your Digimon partners? Seiko asked. Hi, then I'll put my faith in you, Rinamon, to protect her no matter the cost, Seiko said, turning to Rinamon. I will give my life, the Kitsune Digimon replied with a small bow. I trust you will do the same, Naruto? Seiko asked, her head turning to a tree. Rika and Makino looked confused, but then that changed to surprise as they saw Rika's boyfriend drop out of the tree with Doraemon and Gataman on their usual places, on his back and head respectively. You are such a hassle, Seiko-san, Naruto joked. Seiko chuckled at that before looking into Naruto's sapphire eyes. You are a fighter, a shinobi perhaps? Seiko asked. Her answer was given due to Naruto's raised eyebrow. How did you know? How long? He asked. I have known ever since I met you, because you have the eyes of one who has seen the battlefield and that of death. Such eyes should not be present on one of your age, Naruto-kun, Seiko replied. Naruto sighed. A shinobi's life begins at the age of 12. For 1 year I have been a shinobi exiled from my homeland for injuring a traitor, Naruto said, more to himself than to the Nanaka family. So, you're a shinobi? Makino asked. Naruto looked up and nodded with a shrug. Hi, then you can do extraordinary things and protect my daughter? Naruto nodded and smirked. Of course, he said, deciding to give them an example. He walked forward and stepped onto the surface of the water, standing there as if it were solid ground, surprising Seiko and Makino at that feat. I have taught Rika-chan, Takato and Henry as well on how to use the energy that shinobi use, chakra. You what? Makino roared, but Naruto did not yield. I taught her on how to use her chakra. All humans have chakra, which allows shinobi and those learning the shinobi arts to use ninjutsu. I have also taught them on using shuriken and kunai as well as teaching them a bit of taijutsu or hand-to-hand combat, as you would call it, Naruto explained. Well then, I guess I can keep a clear conscience knowing my granddaughter is with people who are able to protect as well as having things to be able to protect herself on her own, Seiko said. Oka-chan, you're going along with this? Makino asked. The boy is not a liar, I can tell that much. Arigato for your trust and hospitality towards me, Seiko-san. Makino-san. Naruto bowed to them before looking at Rika. Rika-chan, we leave tomorrow at noon. I stopped by to tell you that. Until then, Naruto gave a small wave. Bye guys, Doraemon and Gataman said with a small wave of their own before Naruto put his hand into half the hand sign for Ram, and then the three vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. He has to teach me that, Rika mumbled. So Rika-cha, I guess we have to help you pack for your trip, Seiko said. Rika teared up as she watched her grandmother walk into the house to go and pack her backpack. Makino then walked up to her daughter, and for the first time ever since Makino left to do her modeling, Rika broke down in front of her and hugged her. Rinamon noticed the emotional scene and then left, not wanting to disturb them. Rika-chan, I'll miss you, Makino whispered as she stroked her daughter's back. Rika cried into her mother's chest, the moon and Rinamon being the only spectators to the scene between mother and daughter. The next day, Shinjuku Junior High noon, Naruto looked at the clock as it was the middle of math period. Mr. Kazuma was writing an equation on the board and then Naruto noticed the time. He sighed. Guess it's time already. I'll miss you guys, Kiyoshi, Kasumi, Naruto thought as he looked at his only two friends from his class. Naruto stood up, taking his backpack, which did not contain his school supplies, but his rations and other survival equipment stored in multiple sealing scrolls, and walked towards the window. Getting some fresh air, Mr. Namikaze? Mr. Kazuma asked. The young teacher looked as the blonde walked over to the window and opened it. Well guys, guess I'm gone, he stated. This confused everybody as they saw Naruto smile. Naruto looked at Kiyoshi and Kasumi. You too, keep my seat warm for me, Naruto told them before whistling. Everyone was silent as the whistle pierced the air with its sharp sound. Everyone looked as Naruto walked over to the windowsill and gave a small mock salute before dropping down. Naruto! Everyone ran over to the window and looked in surprise, stepping back as they saw a large black and white furred dragon. The dragon flapped its wings, bringing Naruto up to that level. Next to Naruto was Gataman, gave a small smile. The girl's eyes shined at seeing such a cute kitty, but quickly backed off as Gataman didn't appreciate being called a kitty and flexed her claws, the sharp as razors, claws nearing their faces as she lashed out, being held back by Naruto. Is that a... Kiyoshi paused. Yup. This is my Digimon Darugamon and Gataman. Say hi. Hey, what's up? The red-eyed reptile spoke with a toothy grin. Don't ever call me a kitty again, Gataman said with vehement in her tone. Well, I'll be going now, Mr. Kazuma, Naruto said, and then gave a smirk before Darugamon flew over to the window where Ms. Asagai's class was. Ms. Asagai's classroom. As Ms. Asagai was writing on the chalkboard, Takato, who always sat in the back where he usually sat before turning to look out the window, and spotted Naruto standing atop Darugamon with Gataman. Takato turned to Henry, who had Terriermon hidden in his backpack, and gave the blue-haired boy a nod. Henry nodded back. He and Takato then rose to their feet. Kenta, Kazu, and Jerry also stood up taking their backpacks and walked over to the window. And just where do you think you're going? Mrs. Seiji asked. Takato turned and smiled. We're going to save a friend, he stated before opening the window and then dropping down with the others. The class immediately ran over, Mrs. Seiji taking the front, and saw them standing atop a large dragon-like monster. What the hell are you doing? Mr. Seiji yelled. You're just children, but we have a mission and we're not coming back until we've saved our kidnapped friend, Henry said. Darugumon then gave a bestial roar before taking off towards Shinjuku Park, leaving a stunned class of preteens and one teacher. Shinjuku Park, Gilman's shed. Darugumon landed before kneeling down for everyone to get off. After that he de-digivolved into Doraemon and stood next to Naruto and Gatomon. Rika and Renamon were already there waiting with Yamaki. Gilman ran out of the shed to go and stand next to Takato, while Henry released Terriermon from the confines of his bag. I don't know why you didn't just let me wait here instead of hiding me all day in school in your hot backpack, Terriermon panted. Yamaki then looked over the group and walked up to talk. However, before Yamaki could speak, so explain, why are you three here? Naruto said, glaring at Kenta, Kazu, and Jerry. Well, we want to help in whatever way we can, Kenta said with a smile. That, and we want to go and see if we can find any Digimon that might become our partners so we can become tamers like you guys, Kazu added. Naruto gritted his teeth. Bakas, he muttered, fine, it's not responsibility if you get killed by wild Digimon. Why are you here though? He turned to Jerry. Jerry smirked and reached into her backpack's outer pocket, unzipped it, and then yanked out a yellow Democrat Arkansas. Everyone's eyes bugged out of their heads. You're a tamer. Who is your partner? Takato asked. Oh, he's right here, Jerry said. Suddenly out of the bushes there stood a large bipedal, pants-wearing, blade-wielding lion Digimon. Leomon? Naruto asked. Ah, the other tamers. What a surprise, Leomon said as he stood next to Jerry. So you're Jerry-chan's partner? Takato asked. Hi, she helped heal me. A few days ago, I was fighting some bio-emerging Digimon that appeared when a large rift appeared and seemed to cut the sky in half. I managed to defeat them, but I was heavily injured. Luckily, or just by sheer coincidence, Jerry here found me and helped heal me by bringing me food and bandaging my wounds. After that, she got her Democrat Arkansas and I became her partner, and she became my tamer. Leomon summarized the story of how he and Jerry became partners. I see. Well, we could always use whatever allies we have, Naruto said. Well, that's enough talking. Let's get down to business, Yamaki said as he stepped forward. Now you kids, the portal to the digital world is inside the shed. All the way in the back where that, he pointed to Gilman, dug a hole in the wall. Now then, before you go I have something for you guys. Yamaki reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black device that looked similar to an iPad 2 except without the Apple insignia. This is a communications device that John Yu Wong, Henry's father, and I developed together. This will allow to keep contact with the outside world. Wait, how long ago was this made? I don't remember Oto-san coming home late at all, Henry said. Maybe that's because you're never home when he reaches back. He stayed late after work to help me make this. I, of course, gave him the schematics and the resources to help build it, Yamaki explained. Now, the power switch is located on the back of the communications device. Then use the electronic touch keyboard to type out your message and then hit send. It's kind of like email in a way except across worlds. Yamaki dumbed down the explanation a bit. Okay, Naruto took the device and handed it to Takato, who put it in his backpack. So are you all ready? Yamaki asked. Of course, the group replied. Now then, I have only a few orders for you all. He looked specifically at Naruto for this. Rescue your kidnapped friend. Watch out for each other and come back safely to your families. Live to see another day in this world. Am I clear? He barked. Hi, was the simultaneous response. Yamaki nodded before walking past the group, but paused briefly when he reached Naruto and mumbled to the teenager's ears. Listen, don't do anything reckless in there. You don't know what might happen, so keep your guard up at all times. And be careful, Yamaki said. Naruto smirked. Ah, you sound like you actually care. This caused Yamaki to smirk as well. Yeah, good luck out there, Gaki, and then tapped Naruto on the shoulder before leaving. The group then walked towards the shed, entering the darkness. Only it wasn't as dark, for the golden light of the digital portal lit the tunnel that Gilman had made in the back of the shed. The portal was golden yellow and swirled like a vortex, edged with red, white, and silver flakes of data. Well, are you all ready? Naruto asked. A nod was received from each member of the group. The blonde shinobi then looked at his partners. Well guys, you're going home, and with that they were all pulled into the portal, moving at supersonic speeds through it. Naruto looked around. Everyone was flailing their limbs about, except for he and Doraemon, since they were used to this kind of travel. Tunnel vision began to develop as they moved faster through the portal, and then there was a bright flash of blue light, and the group exited the digital portal and found themselves floating in a large blue area of space. Large amounts of zeros and ones floated past them. Where are we? Jerry asked. Leomon looked around, holding on to Jerry tightly. This is the void that separates the digital world from the real world, Renamon said as she pointed what seemed to be up from her perspective. Everyone looked where Renamon pointed and saw the golden portal they exited from. So the Digimon that bioemerge come through here to reach our world? Henry asked. Renamon nodded. Correct, however here, the laws of physics do not apply as such. There is no force of gravity, there is no up, down, left or right. This area is powered by thought, and so if you think one direction is down, then I think down is there, Gilman pointed. Suddenly it was as if gravity came into effect and they all started falling through the blue void. So if you think one way is down, then that way becomes down? Naruto yelled out to Renamon as they were falling. Exactly. Could you guys quit with the small talk and find us a way to not get killed by falling to our deaths? Kazu yelled. Don't worry, you'll be fine, Naruto said. Suddenly white clouds of data zoomed past the group as they fell, and suddenly they saw a large data chip, about the size of a rather large cloud. Those weren't there when I came, Naruto mused before he, and everyone else, slammed straight through the giant data chip. Another one appeared and they smashed through that one as well. More data chips appeared from nowhere, and they all kept going through them as if they were made of brittle material before falling from what seemed to be 5 stories in terms of height, and landed in a tangle of limbs. Leomon, Renamon, Naruto, Takato, Doraemon and Gilman on the bottom of said pile and took the brunt of the impact, thus ensuring the other people's survival. But they were still in pain. Pain. Naruto moaned. So much pain, Takato groaned as Leomon helped them both up. Are you two okay? Jerry asked. Hi, just a bit. Naruto stretched his back and caused it to crack, stiff in the joints as he continued to crack every available joint he had. After everyone was shown to be alright and their belongings secure, Kazu decided to take pictures of everyone. After a minute of taking pictures of being the first humans, minus Naruto, to come to the digital world, Kazu put away his digital camera and then looked around. The digital world is more desert-like than I imagined, he said. Well, that's how it was the first time I came here, Naruto said before looking at Doraemon. Do you remember which way to the village? Of course, I was born and raised there for years, just that I hadn't digivolved until I met you, the purple-furred dragon replied. Everyone looked at the blonde Tamer and his partner Yupin, hearing that there was a village. Of course they had only paid attention to that specific piece of dialogue. Dorukuen, what village? Gataman asked. Come on, I'll show you, Doraemon said. He and Naruto then began to lead the way through the desert region, the makeshift wind blowing balls of raw data that looked like tumbleweeds across the uninhabited area. So, what's so special about this village? Rika asked. Oh, it was village where I was born and raised, Doraemon stated before Naruto cut in. And it was the place where me and Doraemon first met. The dark area Lusman's prison. Lusman looked around his prison made of the elements that was constructed by Fanglaman to imprison him for his attempted assault on the digital world to rule it. Lusman then looked at the main lock, the lock made of the elements of Fanglaman, light and darkness. Soon, I will be free. Lusman then looked at his little crystal ball that showed where Naruto was and smirked. The fallen angel Digimon's eyes brightened with glee as he saw where the blonde Tamer was. So you have returned to the digital world for your little friend, eh? Well then, welcome back to the digital world, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko. Lusman cackled loudly within his confines before looking at the image of Naruto and Doraemon, his sky-blue eyes holding a glow that held malice and glee, his violet tattoos and golden bands around his ankles and wrists holding the same glowing characteristic. Welcome back, my salvation. Chapter 18. Rescuing the Light. 1. Naruto, Tamer of the X-Antibody. Chapter 18. Rescuing the Light. PT1. The group walked through the desert as they followed Naruto and Doraemon. After what seemed like hours of walking, the group finally began to complain. Are we there yet? Kazu groaned. No, Naruto replied as soon as Kazu asked his question. Dude, we've been walking for hours. Kenta whined. I'm starting to trudge. I do not do trudging. I've never trudged before in my life. Well, get used to it because we're not there yet. We told you to stay back. But no, you wanted to come and get your own Digimon partners, Doraemon yelled back at them. That caused the two non-tamers to shut their mouths, thus earning a moment of bliss for the group. After a few more hours of walking, Naruto and Doraemon squinted as they looked up ahead, spotting a distant shadow. "Hey guys, I think I see something," Naruto said. "Is it the village?" Gadaman groaned. Even she was starting to get tired of the endless walking. She was now trudging like the rest of the group. "Actually, yes, I think it is," Gato-chan Doraemon said as he managed to make out the shapes of huts and other mediocre infrastructure. "Really?" The others yelled in surprise, sending Naruto and Doraemon flying back anime-style due to the combined volume of the group. Yeah, Naruto and Doraemon replied, dusting themselves off as they got up. Gadaman and Rika then tackled their respective boyfriends to the ground and kissed them. "Did I ever tell you I loved whiskers?" Rika asked with a smirk. No actually, now that I think about it," the blonde replied. Rika chuckled. "Well then, I love you." The redhead rose off Naruto, Gadaman doing the same action with Doraemon before the two guides got up and began to lead the group towards the village where the blonde and purple-furred dragon first met. Digital world nearby village that Naruto and Doraemon spotted. While the group was walking towards the village and were quite happy about it, it was a different story as for what was going on inside the village. Ever since the incident concerning the Tyrannoman when Naruto arrived, the village had been on high alert. When rebuilding had been completed, the village was made up of many small mud huts with doors of wood and stone that were found after much scavenging around the digital world. The huts were about the size of a small car in terms of space, and as high as a refrigerator. In the village, a decent number of Digimon thrived even in the harsh desert climate. They had managed to adapt and live peacefully, unless attacked. Digimon ranging from baby level to mega lived here. Many baby Digimon were present with just as many in training and rookie level Digimon. But there were only a choice few that made it to the champion level, and there were no ultimate or mega level Digimon present in the village at all. The village was surrounded by 8 towers the size of a street lamppost. 2 towers were placed up at each cardinal point surrounding the village. 2 to the north, 2 to the east, 2 placed at the west, and 2 more placed at the south. These towers were used by the Digimon inhabitants to survey the area and check for any intruders. Of course, handling large Digimon that intruded would still be a bit of a problem. But since some of the Digimon in the village had managed to digivolve into their rookie and a select few into their champion forms, they were able to handle the situations. Each of the 2 towers were occupied by Digimon known as Aquilaman, the digivolved form of Hawkmon, and a champion-level Digimon. The Aquilaman were large bird-like Digimon that were large enough to carry 2 grown men on their backs. They looked through piercing blue eyes that could spot things from great distances and hence were the best type of Digimon to use for the job of being a scout or lookout. The necks of the bird Digimon had a ring of brown feathers around its base while the rest of it was covered with white feathers. The Aquilaman's beaks were a golden yellow and sharp enough to seem that they could poke through steel. The feathers located at the tips of the wings were white and tipped red, while the rest of the wings along with the rest of their body was covered with brick red colored feathers. Its feet was colored a dark shade of blue and each foot had 2 large, black claws that could rip flesh from bone, and a third back claw was located on the back of the champion Digimon's foot. Along with the Aquilaman, Digimon known as Gotsuman, which is a rookie-level Digimon whose body was comprised entirely of gray rock and had yellow eyes that seemed to glow gold in color. The Gotsuman served as the ones to tell the leader of the village when there was trouble approaching. Right now we will focus on the west perch, which is the side from which our heroes are approaching from. The Aquilaman, which was looking around, not really expecting anything to happen this day, was yawning as it put a wing in front of its mouth. "So Aquilaman, spot anything?" the Gotsuman partner for this Aquilaman asked. The one of 4 Aquilaman looked ahead and scanned the area, using great eyesight, and spotted an unknown group of individuals approaching the village. The Aquilaman's eyes widened at this before turning to its Gotsuman partner. "Quick, alert the leader, there is a group of..." The champion Digimon turned back and counted, 1, 2, 4, 7, 13. 13 individuals are approaching the village, although 7 of them do not appear to be Digimon. Gotsuman nodded, replying in a female tone of voice, quickly turned and jumped down from his tower before running through the village. It then reached the largest hut in the small village and opened the stone door and entered the village leader's quarters. The rock-like Digimon quickly ran up to the seat where his leader sat and dropped to his knees. "Leader-sama, there are a group of outsiders approaching the village. 13 of them were counted by my Aquilaman partner," Gotsuman reported. The village leader took a deep breath through the mouth before inhaling through its nostrils. Gotsuman noticed this was what his leader did in order to smell what type of Digimon the intruders would be and could also determine their level by just smell alone. Let's see, we have 7 of them that do not appear to be Digimon. Strange, the leader spoke in a male voice indicating that the leader was male, and then took another deep breath through his nose. There are 2 champion and 5 rookie-level Digimon in the group. A Leomon, a Renamon, a Terriermon, a Gataman, and 2 unknowns. the leader said with mild surprise. Interesting, but one of those rookies, one of the unknown, it smells like. The leader took another sniff of air before his previously closed eyes snapped open, revealing them to be a piercing emerald green color. A smirk formed on the leader's face before turning to face the Gotsaman. There was also some sort of crimson gem located in the center of the leader's forehead as he turned around to face his subordinate. What are your orders, Leader-sama? The Gotsaman asked. Come, Gotsaman. The leader rose and walked out of the darkness. The gem in the leader's forehead shone brilliantly, casting a soft red glow in some parts of the hut's interior. Let's welcome them. Gotsaman looked confused. Welcome? He voiced his thoughts as he followed his leader out of the hut. Hi. I have an old friend to see, the leader replied. The leader, followed by Gotsaman, walked through the village towards the west towers. The inhabitants looked surprised at seeing their leader standing out in the light, having usually remained within the confines of his large hut where it was safe. The Digimon all gave respectful bows to their leader, while the baby and in-training Digimon merely smiled at him. The leader simply smiled and waved at them before approaching the western tower. Aquilaman! The leader called to the western Aquilaman. The great bird Digimon looked down and spread its large wings before landing softly on the sandy ground. Leader-sama, the Aquilaman bowed to its master. As you must have heard, there are outsiders approaching. Do you want us to drive them back or? No. No violence is necessary. I have smelt the air, and one of them, I have determined, is an old friend of mine, the leader said as his previous smirk became a simple smile, showing a few sharp teeth that poked through the upper lip. The leader, Gotsaman, and Aquilaman then stood there as they watched the approaching shadows. The shadows grew closer and closer before their figures began to take shape. They neared the towers and were obviously visible to them as they stopped to point in out before they all broke into a run. After a few minutes of running, the approaching group stopped and panted as they regained their breath. The leader looked over them, observing their physical characteristics. The 7 unknowns were unlike any creatures he had seen before. They all had varying colors of skin. One appeared to be the sole female of the species given the creature's difference in anatomical structure, but was still similar to that of her other male counterparts. The female had red hair and grayish-violet eyes, and her skin was pale. She wore a blue and white long-sleeved t-shirt with the image of a broken heart on the front and a pair of dark blue jeans. A red belt was worn around the female creature's waist, and 2 bands of red were worn around her right thigh area. A pair of red and steel-gray shoes completed the look. The others were all male. One had bluish-black hair and brown eyes. The boy looked like a mix between 2 different lineages, since his scent carried 2 different smells, and wore a black t-shirt underneath an orange vest with a pair of blue pants and gray and yellow-colored sneakers. The second male creature wore a blue hooded shirt that doubled as a sweater with a pair of gray pants, and green and yellow sneakers were worn on the male's feet. A pair of yellow, blue lens-tinted goggles were worn around the boy's forehead. The final one was a male, obviously older, probably by 1 year, and more experienced due to the look in his sapphire eyes. There were 3 whisker-like scars or birthmarks on each cheek of the strange male creature, and spiky blonde hair was atop his head. The boy wore a black t-shirt with the image of an orange-scaled dragon with orange flames lining the bottom of the t-shirt along with the edge of the sleeves. A pair of dark blue jeans with many pockets was worn with a pair of orange and blue sneakers. A/N. Some Digimon wear clothes when they digivolve, which is why I would think they would have the terminology to actually know what types of clothes are which. The 2 unknown Digimon were a large red-scaled lizard with a white underbelly, the chest area bearing the symbol of the digital hazard. The Digimon was a red dragon-like reptile Digimon with yellow eyes, wing-like ears, a long and strong tail, and carries the black digital hazard symbol on his chest. The Digimon seemed to be muscular, yet a little slender with big legs, perfect for fast running. On each of his strangely large hands, the Dino Digimon had paws, something you wouldn't normally see on a dinosaur or reptile Digimon, and 3 fingers with long claws. And on each foot, he has 2 clawed toes and a claw coming out from the heel. One very indistinct feature of the Digimon Naruto was looking at were the stripes and triangle patterns on certain parts of his body. On its snout is a black, inverted version of the 0 unit. The second was, I knew it. I knew the unknown smelled familiar, the leader thought with a smile as he looked at Doraemon from behind Aquilaman. Who and what are you? Aquilaman asked, stepping forth in front of his leader. Gotsaman standing next to the giant bird that was at least the same size as Leomon in terms of height. We are humans and Digimon tamers. We are here from the real world to help a friend who was taken here by a misunderstanding Digimon, the blonde one said. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and these are my friends, the leader observed, and like his 2 guardians, Aquilaman and Gotsaman, his eyes widened in surprise at hearing they were humans, but quickly looked back to Doraemon and smirked. You! The group was taken entirely by surprise as a small figure jumped out from behind Aquilaman and tackled Doraemon to the ground. The leader and Doraemon rolled across the dirt. Leader-sama, Doraemon! The group watched as Doraemon kicked the leader off of him and growled before tackling the leader himself. The group observed the Digimon that attacked their companion. It was similar to that of a dragon, but covered in what seemed to be orange fur. The skin was a gray color where its underbelly was. Two strong forearms held Doraemon by the head and threw the purple-furred dragon into the dirt. There was a type of armor-like coating, akin to samurai armor worn on the leader's body. It was black with purple spikes jutting out of it, but they didn't seem sharp enough to impale anyone since they were only half a centimeter high. Green eyes stared into Doraemon's orange ones. A small ponytail of red hair came out from the back of the samurai like helmet the Digimon wore, and in the center of its forehead, lined by a golden armored area of the helmet, was a crimson gem, like Doraemon's own old interface gem. What is your leader doing attacking out friend? Takato yelled and was about to send Gilman into fight, but was stopped when Naruto and Aquilaman held their hands/wing out. No, they said. Nani? The group exclaimed, Naruto, he's your partner, and you're letting him fight an unknown Digimon. Look at their eyes, Aquilaman said. Everyone paused in whatever they were about to say and looked at the two Digimon rolling in the dirt like two fighting children. In the orange eyes of Doraemon and the green eyes of the leader Digimon, there was happiness in them. Finally, after a few more seconds of rolling in the desert sand, the two Digimon stood up and panted. It's good to see you again, Doraemon, the leader said. You too, Kyokyamon, Doraemon replied, and then the two hugged each other as if they were old friends. The pair then walked up to the group and smiled. Minasan, I want you all to meet my friend, Kyokyamon, Doraemon said. Doraemon, shut up, I digivolve now. My name is Ryudaman now, Ryudaman said with a smirk before playfully punching Doraemon in the shoulder. Well, I digivolve too. My name is Doraemon now, the purple-furred dragon said to his samurai armor-wearing friend. Good to know, come into my hut. We have much to discuss, old friend, Ryudaman said, and then led the group through the village towards the large hut that only the village leader occupied. A lot has changed since you left, Doraemon, Ryudaman said as the group entered the hut. I can tell. The Aquilaman and Gotsaman scouts called you Leader-sama, which probably means. Ryudaman nodded. Hi, I am leader of our village now, Doraemon, the orange-furred Digimon said, closing his emerald-colored eyes. Guys, it's good to see that you all are reunited and all, but shouldn't we be looking for Kalyaman? Kazu asked. Mateo, Doraemon said as he saw everyone looking about to get up and leave. I've gone for so long, I need to know what has happened in my home. The group looked at Doraemon before Naruto stepped forward and placed his hand on the dragon Digimon's head and petted it. Take all the time you need. We will be waiting outside for you, Naruto said. Arigato, Naruto. See you later, Gato-chan. Doraemon gave a wave to his feline girlfriend before the group left the hut to go and take a look around the village. Doraemon sighed before turning back to Ryudaman. That Tamer of yours, he cares for you like a little brother. I can see it in his eyes, the orange-furred dragon Digimon said. Hi, so tell me, what happened while I was gone? How and when did you digivolve? What happened since the Tyrannoman attack? When were you made leader? Doraemon asked before getting a sad look in his orange eyes. What happened to Gigi Sagittariman? Ryudaman sighed, a similar sad look appearing in his emerald green eyes. The other Accentibody Digimon looked up at the earthen ceiling of the hut. I'll answer one question at a time, but I will start from when I had left to go and get some food for the new baby Digimon. I was still Kyokyamon back then. Flashback. In the small Digimon village, the village leader Sagittariman sat in his hut. Sagittariman was a large armor-level Digimon, the result of the Digi-Egg of Hope bonding with his previous form, Veman. Sagittariman was a large black-skinned centaur. His hands were covered by the hand armor of Flamedraman and had the horn of Raidamon. On his back was a large bow and quiver. The door to the leader's hut opened and Sagittariman looked to see his one of the younger Digimon, Kyokyamon, enter the hut. Kyokyamon looked very much like a snake, serpentine in terms of body characteristics with 6 spike-like protrusions, like that of hair stretching from the back of Kyokyamon's head. The longest of the 6 were tipped with a violet color and looked like horns. The remaining 4 were shorter and were located somewhere on the upper neck area and were tipped with red. Kyokyamon's underbelly was a grayish color and had 4 small flippers which acted like legs and arms while he floated in the air. Green eyes stared at the village leader. Why you called for me, Sagittariman-sama? Kyokyo asked, being nervous around the old yet powerful leader of the village. Sagittariman chuckled and scratched at the graying areas of hair, showing how old the Digimon was. After all, even data had its lifespan. Please, young one, you can meet Gigi Sagittariman, Sagittarian GG or just GG would suffice, the centaur-like Digimon said with a smirk. But that would be disrespectful to you, Sagittarian-sama, Kyokyamon said. I don't care for formalities unless required, and it is not required here, my child, Sagittarian said in a sage-like voice that calmed the jittery in-training Digimon. So, Sagittarian GG, what did you call me for? Kyokyamon asked. Well, my child, I noticed however the past few years that even though you have not even reached the rookie level, you still work harder than any other Digimon here in the village, even working to take care of our little ones, Sagittarian said with a smile before standing onto his horse-like legs. He rested his hand on the young serpentine Digimon's head. Now then, I need you to go to the forest located to the west and get some Digi berries from there. The forest, which is about a few hours from the village, is relatively safe. Just be sure to be careful though, because some Digimon are violent in the forest, the armor-level Digimon advised. Kyokyamon nodded. Hi, Sagittarian-sama. I mean GG, Kyokyamon corrected himself. Sagittarian nodded with a smile on his face. You may go now. Have a safe journey, the elder Digimon said before sitting back down on the grass-covered area where he always sat. Sagittarian watched as Kyokyamon left the room and then let out a series of harsh coughs, covering his mouth with his armor-covered hands. Oh, curse this old body of mine, the armor-level Digimon said. Kyokyamon looked from the opening in the door as he had forgotten to close it completely shut, and when he had went to, he saw the old Digimon coughing loudly. Kyokyamon turned and then left for the forest, floating above the sands of the desert area. After reaching the forest, Kyokyamon began to pick up the few small Digi berries in his mouth, and placed them on a large leaf he had found earlier to place the collected berries on. Only a few of these berries. After all, the baby Digimon wouldn't eat that much, Kyokyamon said to himself before the image of a purple and white furry fluff ball with orange eyes appeared in his mind's eye. Except for Datamon. Probably should bring some extras for him, Kyokyamon said with a chuckle. The little purple puffball was the closest to a little brother Kyokyamon would ever have. Kyokyamon then picked up a few extra berries and then folded the leaf so as to keep the berries protected from the desert's heat, and also it would be easier to carry. The serpent-like Digimon went into the edge of the forest and began to walk across the desert. Oh boy, Sagittarian-sama. I mean Gigi and the babies will be so proud and happy with me when they see how much food I brought back for them, Kyokyamon said to himself as he floated across the sands. His body wriggled like a snake's as he floated, his eyes forming upside down as showing he was smiling as he held the leaf full of berries in his mouth. After the hours of crossing the desert, Kyokyamon stopped at where he knew the village and then opened his eyes. His green eyes that were normally full of happiness and joy became full of fear and sadness as he saw the once peaceful, beautiful little village, destroyed and burning. Many of the buildings were broken, reduced to rubble, while only a few were left untouched, but still surrounded by the red flames. Oh no, Kyokyamon dropped the berries and flew as quickly as he could towards the village and ran to where Sagittarian's hut was. The serpent-like Digimon's eyes widened in shock, tears lining his eyes as he saw the broken form of what used to be the Elder Armor Digimon's hut. Kyokyamon floated over to the broken mud hut and let out a few sobs before he stopped when he heard a groaning. Sagittarian groaned as he tried to push a large piece of his former home off his broken body, but to avail. Sagittarian-sama. Kyokyamon cried out and went over to the aged centaur Digimon. What happened? Are you okay? Ugh, Tyrannomon, it attacked for no reason, saying it wanted to absorb our data, Sagittarian groaned. How are the babies? Did they get away? What about Datamon? Did he get away in time? Kyokyamon asked. Sagittarian shook his head. I managed to help most into the underground safe house beneath my house. They are all there. Sagittarian took a deep intake of breath. Some, I couldn't save, burning in the flames that evil behemoth caused. But, Gomen Nasai, forgive this old Digimon. I could not find Datamon. Sagittarian began to release tears of his own as Kyokyamon watched as his grandfather figure was gasping, trying to hold on to what little life he had left. Kyokyamon, you are the only one who can bring this village back. I cannot. I am too old and too damaged, Sagittarian groaned as he felt another wave of pain wash over his centaurian body. Save your strength, Sagittarian-sama. We need to get you out from under here, Kyokyamon said as he floated around and pushed with all the strength he had. But to no avail. Hee, the old armor-level Digimon chuckled. Don't, Kyokyamon. We both know I will not be able to make it. Sagittarian then held out the only good arm he had, the other crushed by a large piece of his own home. The armor Digimon then raised his hand and then touched Kyokyumon's forehead. I will give you my data. You will be able to digivolve and protect what remains of the young ones, Sagittarian said before closing his eyes. No, don't, you're gonna be okay, Sagittarian-sama. Please don't, the golden-scaled serpent said, his green eyes releasing his tears. Don't cry, my child, and remember, it's Gigi, the black-colored centaur Digimon said with a smile before a blue glow surrounded him. Protect the young ones. I know you can. For starting today, you are the leader of this village. Sagittariuman's body then began to disintegrate into blue and red flakes of data which went into Kyokyuman's body. Promise me you will protect them and be the great leader that I know you will be. Kyokyuman's Sagittariuman smirked before disappearing, completely becoming pure data that was absorbed into Kyokyuman, who was still sobbing. I promise, Gigi. I will protect them and reform this village and make sure nothing like this happens again. Kyokyuman glowed with a golden light before a golden egg of data surrounded him. Kyokyuman digivolved. His body grew in size and his limbs grew into powerful forearms that were shorter than his equally strong legs. His hands and feet each sported 3 sharp claws, the claws on the feet obviously being longer than that on the hands. Sharp teeth, with a few poking through the rookie Digimon's mouth like fangs, filled his mouth, his body changing into the likeliness of a dragon, but covered in what seemed to be orange fur. A row of small spikes went down the newly formed rookie Digimon's back. The skin remained its original gray color where his underbelly was. A black-colored like coating with purple-like spikes covering it, suddenly formed from the fur covering the Digimon's back and tail. 2 armor-covered bands were worn on the Digimon's wrists to complete the armored look. The armor-like coating was akin to samurai armor. Green eyes snapped open and looked over the new body that Kyokyuman just gained. Finally, a helmet formed on the Digimon's head similar to a samurai's own. A golden band made of what seemed to be similar to a bronze-colored chrome digits decorated the front of the helmet, and in the center of the Digimon's forehead, where the helmet didn't cover, was a ruby-red crystal embedded into the skin. Ryudaman dropped down and looked at his new form after emerging from the golden digivolution egg of data. I will keep your promise, Sagittariuman Gigi. I swear it, Ryudaman said, and then removed Sagittariuman's body from out of the rubble using his newfound strength, causing some of the rubble to fall from the support it gained from the armored Digimon's body. Ryudaman then walked into the center of the burning village and dug a hole in the ground before burying Sagittariuman's body there, and placed a broken piece of the leader's hut as a tombstone before carving a few words into the stone in Digicode. Ryudaman then walked away to go and help the hidden baby Digimon. Here lies Sagittariuman, leader, friend and grandfather. May his Digicore be at peace, was what the tombstone read. End flashback. I see. Well, you see, it was Naruto, my Tamer, and I who defeated the Tyrannoman, but we were summoned by the sovereigns by the time you returned, I imagine, Doraemon said. You, and that human, defeated a champion Digimon like Tyrannoman? The purple-furred dragon nodded. Ryudaman smirked. Naruto is a strong human. He and his friends possess abilities that other humans could only dream of having, Doraemon said, defending his tamer and friend. You said you were summoned by the sovereigns. Why? They thought I was a suspicious Digimon, saying how I possessed a unique form of data in my body called the X antibody. Doraemon pointed at the gem that represented his old interface on his forehead. But I have one too. Why wasn't I taken as well? Ryudaman asked, pointing at his own old interface gem. The purple-furred dragon shrugged. I guess my own was more noticeable, and so they called me. I mean, you said you didn't arrive until an hour after the battle. I guess the X antibody is unlocked when in a fight also. Zukuyaman said how I possessed a dark nature within my Digicore, and how he could sense it. Doraemon shuddered as he remembered the phoenix's rage so clearly in his mind. So, you took down a Tyrannoman with the help of a human, a strong human at that, and it seems you got a girlfriend too. That Gataman, pretty little thing, isn't she? Ryudaman chuckled at his little brother figure, as he saw the small blush that appeared through the dragon's fur. The orange-furred, armor-wearing dragon stood and walked over to Doraemon and patted him on the head, staring him the eye. After all, they were the same height. I guess you've grown up, Doraemon. You seem stronger and wiser beyond your years, the armor-wearing Digimon said. The dragon Digimon snickered. I could say the same for you. You've become the village leader, and you have done well in protecting the village. I mean, those scouting towers were never there before, and you made a wise choice as having Aquilaman be the lookouts, and the Gostaman being the ones to alert the village if a threat was approaching. I guess we both have, Ryudaman said with a chuckle. Doraemon laughed along with his old friend and brother of a Digimon before they quieted down, and then Ryudaman asked a question that shook Doraemon to his very Digicore. Doraemon, are you going to stay home, remain here in the village with me and the others? Ryudaman asked, shocking his fellow X-Antibody Digimon. Or will you remain with that human, Naruto? Ryudaman. Doraemon sighed. I came here to help find a friend. He was kidnapped by Zukuyaman, and I'm not going to stop until I rescue him. But the decision to choose between my home and you, and my friends, It's a tough choice to make. The two ex-antibody Digimon looked at each other before exiting the hut. The group was watching the statue of Sagittariman that the Gotsaman had built and carved using the stones that made up parts of their bodies, in memory of the old village leader. So how was this statue made? Henry asked. It's very detailed. What Digimon is this? That, my child. The group turned to see Ryutaman standing there with a sad smirk and Doraemon with a sad look in his eyes. That is the previous leader of this village, Sagittariman, but we affectionately called him Gigi. He was a wise and once powerful Digimon. The statue is made from the pieces of the many Gotsamen that now inhabit our village. The Gotsamen are gifted with regenerating limbs, therefore they made no fuss on giving up their arms and legs to help build the statue, which was carved by a Dino Hyamon who chose not to wield his blades to destroy, but to create masterpieces such as this. Ryutaman explained. In fact, it was here where Ryutaman had buried Sagittariman, Doraemon said as he remembered the story that his old friend had told him. The statue was placed within the center of the village where Sagittariman's grave was, and the statue was placed atop the gravesite and had the same Digi-code inscription that Ryutaman had wrote on Sagittariman's gravestone was now on the statue's large stone pedestal. Ah, Doraemon, Naruto called out as he walked over to his partner. You're done? Doraemon nodded and put up a fake smile that Naruto could immediately see through. After all, he wore a mask of stupidity for 13 years. We'll talk about what happened with Ryutaman when you want, Naruto said through the telepathic link between Tamer and partner. Maybe later, but not now, Doraemon replied. So, are you all leaving now? Ryutaman asked. The group nodded. Hi, we're on a tight schedule. We have to go and get Kalyaman as soon as possible, Rika told the orange-colored dragon Digimon. Ryutaman looked over the group with his green eyes and smirked. Then you will need a guide who knows these parts of the digital world. Ryutaman smirked. I shall join you in your quest to find and help your friend Kalyaman. Nanny? Doraemon looked at his old friend. No, you can't. You're leader of this village. They need you. But you need me more. The village can handle themselves in my absence. Halsman. Ryutaman turned and barked out the name of the giant bird Digimon. A loud screech filled the air as a large Digimon flew over to the group and landed, kneeling before the armor-wearing dragon. This Digimon was the form of a Hawkmon, bonded with the powers of the Digi-egg of love. It walked on all fours and looked more like a mixture between a lion and a hawk, a chimera of some sort if you will. The Halsman was larger than the Aquilaman and had red feathers covering the entirety of its body other than its feet, which were like that of a carnivorous animal with 3 sharp claws on them, while the back feet resembled that of an Aquilaman's. On its head, covering the majority of it, only the underside being exposed, there was a silver helmet-like object covering its slender and large head. The crest of love was inscribed into the helmet in purple. Halsman looked down upon her leader after rising with piercing blue eyes. You called for me, Leader-sama? Halsman asked. Hi, I will leaving to go on a journey with my friend Doraemon. Ryutaman gestured to the purple-furred dragon. And I will need to you to care of things here in my absence. Make sure the Digimon are all fed at their proper times, and while you are running things, have a Hawkmon fill your position. It would be good training for when the Hawkmon becomes a lookout one day. Of course, my liege. But one question, Halsman stated. Hi, when will you be back? I will return in good health. Do not worry, Halsman. Remember the last time we fought in a spa, Ryutaman said, smirking as he watched the armored Digimon shudder from the memory. Of course, Leader-sama. I will expect your return to be quick. The female Halsman nodded before walking towards the large leader's hut. Digital World Desert Region, middle of nowhere. So, where are we headed? Naruto asked the armor-wearing ex-antibody Digimon. Well, you are looking for Zukuyaman, correct? The orange-furred dragon asked and looked back, receiving a nod from the blonde shinobi. Hi, well then, since Zukuyaman is the sovereign of the southern quadrant, it is common knowledge to know his lair resides far south, Ryutaman answered. But how do you know which way is south? Rika asked. Well, we left the village from the southern lookout post, did we not? Ryutaman replied. This caused everyone to sweat drop. Baka, they called themselves in their thoughts. So Ryutaman? Leomon asked. Hi, my feline friend. How far is the distance from your village to the lair of Zukuyaman? The large bipedal lion asked while adjusting his hold on Jerry, who was riding on his shoulder. Oh, well, given our current pace, we should reach in about 4 days' time, Ryutaman answered. That is the time reference you all use in the real world, correct? Hi. But how does time pass here in the digital world? Jerry asked. Well, actually, Takato, there is no daytime and nighttime here in the digital world. The dark comes out randomly and becomes what you would define as nighttime, Rinamon explained. Oh, was all the goggle-wearing preteen could say. You mean like that? Everyone looked to see where Takato was pointing and saw a large dark wave run across the land and the sky, and suddenly it was similar to that of nighttime, and the only source of light was the large replica of the real world, and its data streams. I guess we should find some shelter and turn in for the night? Henry questioned as he was unsure of what to call the dark time, seeing as how Renamon said that there was no day or night, just simply the time of light and the time of darkness. The group continued to wander through the darkened desert before coming upon an area filled with rocky mountains, hills, and just a few random boulders. Look up there. That should be a good place to rest, Naruto said, pointing to a cave located within the face of a cliff that overlooked the entire area. But the problem is, Naruto, how are we getting up there? Henry asked. Leomon and Renamon quickly grabbed their tamers and began to leap up the side of the cliff and made it safely to the cave. Naruto then looked at the remaining members of the group before forming a cross-shaped hand sign. Kagebunshin no jutsu, he said, and to the surprise of Ryudaman, he watched as in several puffs of smoke, copies of the blonde shinobi appeared as if from nowhere. Doraemon smirked at his long-time friend. Told you Naruto wasn't weak, Doraemon said. I believe you completely as of this moment, the samurai armor-wearing Digimon said before one of the clones grabbed him and began to run up the side of the cliff, without his hands. What the hell? The orange-furred X-antibody Digimon watched in awe as the clone, just like the other clones and their passengers and the original Naruto carrying Gataman and Doraemon, ran up the side of the cliff as if they were running on the ground. It's handy having a shinobi as your partner, Gataman told the orange-furred dragon. Shinobi? Ninja? Ryudaman asked, earning a nod from the clone that carried him. Hi, now stop gaping and get some rest. We've reached the cave, the clone said as it flipped upwards to cover the last few feet between itself and the cave. Sug, you truly are strange creatures, you humans, Ryudaman said to the clone before it vanished in a plume of smoke. The rest of the clones arrived with Takato, Gilman, Henry, Terriermon, Kazu and Kenta, and the original with Gataman and Doraemon before resting them all on the ground before the clones disappeared as plumes of white smoke, leaving only the original blonde shinobi Tamer. Yes, we are, the Jinchuriki replied with a foxy grin. Well, come on, we have a long day ahead of us. Let's get some rest, Naruto said. Alright. Kabanwa, Minasan, Takato said, and was earned with a kabanwa from the others before falling asleep against Gilman's stomach that was actually quite warm due to having fire burning in the Digimon's stomach. Naruto sat against the wall near the mouth of the cave and looked as Doraemon and Gataman snuggled against each other and smiled. He looked over the others as they slept before seeing Ryudaman walking up to him. You're a born leader, you know that? The armor-wearing dragon said. Naruto chuckled. I've been hearing that a lot from those guys about how I'm a leader, the blonde said, pointing to the 4 other Digimon tamers. Well, you do hold the characteristics of one. Trustworthy, strong, intelligent, and you are a good friend to them all, Ryudaman said with a smile. Naruto sighed before looking at the digital replica of the real world in the sky. What exactly are those beams coming from that thing in the sky? Naruto asked. Oh well, those are beams of data that transport anyone and anything from one place of the digital world to another, Ryudaman answered. The blonde Jinchuriki looked astonished. So it's a teleporter? Well, yes, in a sense, but the thing is that those data beams transport you to practically anywhere in the digital world. So you can go into it and transport yourself to another area of the digital world. These data will most likely just transport you to some other area of the southern quadrant. But, you see those larger data beams? Hi. Well, those ones are capable of sending one from one quadrant to another. A Gomamon and a Byaman from the eastern quadrant, whereas Yulongman Reigns were both transported to my village at one time. Those two, such a nice pair of Digimon, the armored Digimon said with a smirk at the humorous memory. So, we should avoid those at all costs then. That would be the best choice of action. So yes, we should stay clear of the data streams. Alright, well I guess we should get some sleep, Ryudaman, Naruto said. Hi, we should, well as you humans said, Kabanwa? Ryudaman then curled up in a ball like an armadillo and fell fast asleep. Naruto looked around the cave once more before closing his eyes and falling asleep as well. Digital world. One day later in the real world. Naruto yawned as he rose from his nice bed, which consisted of his backpack as a pillow and the floor of the cave as his mattress. That was a nice nap, he said before rising to his feet and performing a few stretches and looked around to see everyone was still sleeping. The blonde shinobi scratched what sleepiness he had left out of his eyes before looking out of the cave to see that the light had returned. So it is similar to day and night. Only night comes unexpectedly, Naruto mused before turning back to face the sleeping group. Okay, Minasan, time to get up. We got a long walk to Zukuyaman's place. Ikuzo! Naruto yelled. The others groaned in annoyance. 5 more minutes, Takato moaned as he dug his face into Gilman's stomach. Naruto sighed at his friend's reactions before forming a Kagebunshin, and then took out a kunai with an exploding tag wrapped around the handle and then pumped small bit of chakra into the exploding tag and threw the kunai at a boulder near the foot of the cliff. Katsu, he said, and then as the kunai touched the boulder, The exploding tag went off and a large explosion rocked the earth and caused everyone to snap awake and run around like chickens with their heads cut off. Everyone stopped running around when they looked to see Naruto and his cage bunshin on the ground laughing their asses off. "Oh dear Kami, that was too good. You guys should have seen yourselves," Naruto howled before clutching his stomach from the pain of laughing. The Digimon and their tamers along with Kazu, Kenta and Ryutaman all gathered around the blonde who recovered from his laughter. The cage bunshin realized this and then poofed out of existence in order to spare itself a painful death. Naruto looked around to see them all staring at him with glares that were so cold they seemed like they could freeze lava. Gomen Nasai?" he said nervously. "Never do that again." They roared before the tamers. Kazu and Kenta went back to get their stuff. After that, the group had descended down the cliff with the help of some of Naruto's clones before trekking back on the path towards Tsukuyemon's lair. "Hey guys, look over there, is that what I think it is?" Kazu asked, pointing in the general direction of northeast. Everyone followed his finger's location and looked to see a small dust cloud. Out of the dust cloud came a small red and silver machine that began to grow larger as it sped towards them. "Is that a..." Takato started. "A motorcycle?" Rika asked. The motorcycle revved its engine as it was nearing the group. "Holy shit, it's that motorcycle that nearly trashed the village a few days ago. It has earned the name the Behemoth because of the destruction it caused. It has no rider and is said to be a machine Digimon that wanders the digital world looking for a rider worthy to ride. When it attacked there was a Meramon riding it, and we managed to free the Meramon, but at the cost of losing one of our own," a metal corpsman Ryutaman said, telling them about the haunted motorcycle. "Quick, we gotta get out of the way now," Ryutaman shouted out to the group. Heeding his warning, the group took off in the direction away from the Behemoth. Naruto stopped though before skidding to a halt and forming a few hand signs and then slammed them on the ground. "Doton, Duken," he said, and then the earth moved from his hands and the chakra moved beneath the ground towards the evil motorbike, and then a large earthen fist rose from the earth and crashed into the motorbike that surprisingly stayed intact as it was sent careening through the sky from the blow. "That should buy us more than enough time," Naruto said to himself before running to catch up with the group. "Naruto-kun, what were you doing?" Rika asked. "I just went to stop the motorcycle from chasing us," he responded before continuing to walk. "Well," Ryutaman lead the way. Hi," the green-eyed Digimon replied before leading the way once more. The group continued to walk through the desert region, throughout the rocky canyon. "Oh, guys, let's take a break. My feet are killing me," Kenta whined, adjusting his glasses. Kazu agreed with his best friend. "Alright, fine. Bunch of babies you two are," Rika mumbled beneath her breath. The group watched as Kenta and Kazu sat on the dusty ground, releasing a sigh of relief as their feet felt the much-needed rest. The group then began to feel hungry as Gilman's stomach began to growl. "Takato, I'm hungry. Did you bring any bread?" Gilman asked. Takato nodded and opened his backpack to show the many loaves of bread his parents made. "I want some," the others cried out from hunger and delved into the backpack, each person taking a piece of bread from the few of many loaves that the goggle-wearing tamer brought. "Sug, this is the best thing I've ever tasted," Ryutaman said as he munched on the bread before continuing to eat. After eating their fill, the group sighed in sweet relief from the lack of hunger they now felt. "That was some good bread," Naruto commented. "I gotta hand to your parents, Gogglehead. They make some pretty damn good bread," Rika said, agreeing with her boyfriend. "Arigato. I learned to make some bread too. Of course it's not as good as theirs," Takato replied, scratching his head in embarrassment. Jerry then crawled up next to Takato and looked at him. "Did you make any of the bread in your bag?" the brown-haired girl asked. Takato looked at his crush and nodded. Yeah, I made a few rolls." Here he took out a roll he had made and handed it to Jerry. The puppet-wearing girl smiled at Takato. "Arigato," she said before saying, "Itadakimasu." She ripped a piece of the roll to try and then popped it into her mouth. Everyone stared at Jerry as she began to chew the piece of bread before she froze. Jerry-chan, you okay? Is the bread alright? Did I make it too soft?" the goggle-wearing tamer asked. All was silent. Only the makeshift wind howled before Jerry began to respond after a few seconds. Her eyes widened and began to sparkle. "This is the best roll I've ever tasted," she exclaimed before allowing everyone else to take a try. Everyone took their small pieces of Takato's roll and ate before they replied with results similar to Jerry's. "Takato, you gotta tell me how you made this," the whisker-cheeked blonde said as he swallowed. "Yeah, Chumley, you've been holding out on me and Kenta. We could have gotten some free bread made by you instead of me having to pay for it from your parents," Kazu said. Takato sneered at Kazu. "Kazu, you do know the bread I make is sometimes sold in the bakey, right?" Takato asked. This caused Kazu to freeze before slumping his shoulders in disappointment. Everyone laughed at the expense of Kazu's lack of being able to have free bread should they make it back to the real world. After a few more minutes of rest, Ryudaman stood up. Alright, Minasan, we have a lot of ground to cover, so let's get a move on, the green-eyed Digimon said. The others nodded before standing to their feet as well. Alright, so just keep heading south and we'll reach Tsukuyemon's palace within 4 more days, Ryudaman stated. Nanny, but I thought you said it would take 4 days for the trip to be made. We already traveled for 1, Henry said. Yeah, but we stopped for too long. It's going to take more time to reach the palace of the sovereign than just 3 days. However, as Ryudaman was explaining this, everyone looked up in surprise to see a large pink beam of data moving towards them. Ryudaman? Takato asked. Hi, Takato, should we run from that? He asked. Ryudaman turned around, saw the very far away data beam. Oh, that, the pink teleportation beam of data, why yes, we should avoid that. Now then, as I was saying. Ryudaman froze before realizing what he just said before turning back to see the pink of data approaching them. Everyone move! Ryudaman and Naruto yelled before running out of the way by running a few feet to side out of the data beam's radius length. But, ahab! Everyone looked to see Kazu and Kenta running away from the data beam within the beam's path. Bakas, I knew we should have left them behind, Naruto grumbled. Well, I guess we will have to get them, Doraemon said. Alright, does anyone else want to come and save Kenta and Kazu? Naruto asked. Everyone, but Rika, Rinamon and Ryudaman stepped back. Alright, you 3, you're coming with us, Naruto said. Be sure to keep up, Rika-chan, he teased as he, Gataman and Doraemon took off after the 2 idiotic boys. You want me to keep up? I'll show you. Keeping up, Rika channeled Chakra into her feet and took off with Rinamon, who was carrying Ryudaman, by her side at speeds that wouldn't be humanly possible for someone without Chakra. Maybe you should be keeping up, the fiery-haired girl said as she passed Naruto, Gataman and Doraemon before slowing down and grabbing the 2 tamers grabbed the 2 moronic boys. Are you 2 insane, running within the path of the data beam? The 6 chasers yelled. Kazu and Kenta chuckled nervously before looking to see the pink beam quite near to them. Guys, Kazu and Kenta said with worried expressions. What? They yelled. It was then that they chose to sweat drop. The data beam is nearing us, isn't it? Rinamon asked. Yeah, pretty much, Kazu said before the 8 of them have turned to face the giant, rapidly moving pink beam. Kyuso, Naruto cursed before looking back at the others. Go on without us, just keep going south, we'll catch up with you guys. The others, except for Leomon, were confused as to what would happen as the rapidly moving, pink beam of data engulfed them. The second after the pink beam swallowed them, they disappeared. Naruto, Doraemon, Gataman, Rika, Rinamon, Ryudaman, Kazu and Kenta all disappeared in a flash of pink data. Leomon, you're a native Digimon, what will those things do? Takato said, gripping onto Leomon's chest hair and pulling, making the large lion Digimon grit his teeth in pain at having his hairs being pulled at. Okay, first off, please let go. You're pulling my chest hairs and that hurts like a bitch, Leomon said as he felt relief when Takato let go. Alright, secondly, those data beams are somewhat like teleporters that if you are touched by them, they will send you to any other part of the quadrant, the larger ones. Bigger than the one we just saw are able to transport you from one of the 4 quadrants to another, Leomon explained. But do you know where they could end up? Like a recycle bin like on the computer, where they throw trash data? Henry asked. No, those data beams send anything anywhere. It's a completely random teleporter, so they could be anywhere within the quadrant. Let's just keep going south like Naruto said. The large feline then turned and picked up Jerry from off the ground and rested her on his shoulders and began walking. Alright, if we make it to the lair of Tsukuyemen, we will have to wait on them in case they don't arrive by the time we do, Takato said. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Terriermon piped is before the remainder of the untransported group continued to head south. Meanwhile, in some random area of the southern quadrant, when Makuramon had managed to kidnap Kalyaman, well, Tsukuyemen did, but Makuramon had to deliver him to the Phoenix of the South. Makuramon had locked the Digimon in a cage, but had crashed to the ground since his wounds from Naruto made him weak and he had to rest. Unfortunately, while the monkey Deva was resting, Kalyaman had managed to escape with the help of some flying, shiny fishes that were actually the very first data constructs, known as Diginomes. The ancient ancestors of the Digimon that had the power to grant the wishes of the individuals they deemed worthy to have their wishes become reality. They helped Kalyaman escape by having him break out of the cage, quietly, and then give him the temporary power of true flight, not just gliding along the winds with his ears. When Makuramon woke up, his eyes bugged out his head as he realized that the cream-puffed Digimon was missing, and thus, the search for the light of digivolution began. Makuramon was riding a large dragon Digimon with large antler-like horns. The dragon was covered with green scales, had large red eyes and was big enough to rival Zukuyaman in size. Long, sharp claws were on its hands and feet, and similarly sharp teeth lined its jaws. This was Majuraman, the Dragon Deva Digimon, and an ultimate level just like all the other Devas. Erg, that damn cream puff. Zukuyaman-sama is going to have my head if I can't find the light of digivolution, Makuraman said with a worried expression on his face. Please, Makuraman. Zukuyaman would burn you to a crisp, your entire body, not only your head, Majuraman said with a deep chuckle. Makuraman's sweat dropped. Thanks for the encouragement, Majuraman, Makuraman said as the Dragon Deva continued to fly through the air as they searched for Kalyaman. Unknown to them, they had flown right past the cream-puffed Digimon who was merrily walking behind a large sand dune. You see, after Kalyaman had escaped earlier, he began to run to Goldramon knows where. He was then suddenly attacked by a few Bearmon that wanted to eat him before escaping, before having to survive as a Dogimon, who was being watched by a couple of Motamon and Tentamon. Poor kid, they said to themselves. Kalyaman was finally able to survive. His running skills finally paid off in the end as he outran the Dogimon. Kalyaman was laughing as he hopped, skipped, and jumped along the desert sands, going who knows where. Unknown to him, he was heading straight for the lair of Zukuyaman, which was quite far away, but he was still heading in that general direction, the pink, tumbleweed-like balls of data rolling alongside him as he ran through the desert sands. His footprints were making marks in the sand as he ran. Kalyaman then began to sing a song to himself. I was having a yucky day, but now woohoo, I get to play. Other Digimon were so mean, they're nasty if you ever seen. I don't need them, not at all, my brand new friends are big pink balls. Running here and running there, like a hyper teddy bear RAARR. Happy doodle, oh what fun! I wish I had a chocolate bun, or a cookie or a cake, or a minty chocolate shake. Who needs snacks? I have a time, my friends need lollipop for joy. I'm so happy, I don't care, I'm still not wearing underwear. Kalyaman sang in glee. Unknown to the laughing light of digivolution, his footprints had carved out a weird design in the sand with the haphazard movements he was making, and suddenly the Diginomes appeared, flying next to him, and then Kalyaman's upside crimson triangle, the 0 unit, glowed brightly on his forehead. The footprints he made in the sand suddenly began to glow, and a group of Woodmon who were watching the little tyke noticed the glow in the sand. Whoa, what's going on? I feel funny, the Woodmon said before they glowed with a red light, and then digivolved into large tree-looking Digimon called Cherrymon. Hey look, we digivolved, one of the newly digivolved Cherrymon exclaimed. However, Makuramon had decided to circle back and caught sight of the glowing golden light in the sands. Is that? It is, the light of digivolution. Makuramon exclaimed, quick Majuraman, go towards the light. You know, this is actually the one time I actually want to go towards the light, the Dragon Deva thought, snickering to himself at the mental joke. Digital World Southern Quadrant. Unknown location. Naruto, Rika, Rinamon, Doraemon, Gatomon, Kazu, Kenta and Ryutaman all screamed in fright as they found themselves falling onto what seemed like hard ground from above. However, upon landing, there was no sound of cracking earth or the breaking of bones. Hey, we're alive, Doraemon said. We're alive! Ryutaman cried out and hugged his old draconic friend along with Gatomon and Rinamon. Meanwhile, Rika and Naruto kissed each other, just to remind themselves they were alive, and to get something out of the feeling. Kazu looked around and noticed they were in an area that looked to be made entirely of clouds. There were large gears, similar to that of gears in a clock, resting atop poles. However, none of the gears appeared to be rotating. Where are we? The glasses-wearing boy, that is Kenta, asked more to himself than the group. I don't know, Ryutaman said. It appears we are in some place made entirely of solidified clouds though. The armor-wearing dragon jumped up and down to find that it was surprisingly springy for something so soft. Maybe there are some Digimon over here, Rinamon said as her icy blue eyes scanned the area. Oh, look, there's someone over there. Everyone followed the golden-furred Kitsune's gaze and then noticed she was right. The group ran towards the figure, that they now realized to be two figures standing by what seemed to be an old and broken cuckoo clock. They could tell it was broken because the second hand was constantly sticking at the 10-second mark. The group stopped a few feet away from the two and watched them as they talked. Naruto and Rika took out their diarchs and scanned the two Digimon. One of the figures, that looked like a phantom of some kind with only half a human body, wearing a red and gray-colored sweater kind of clothing, while from the waist down it was a giant alarm clock that had an extra pair of hands, real hands, and also a pair of legs. In the human part of the Digimon, there was a small silver hammer in its hands. Green eyes looked at the cuckoo clock's broken second hand. The second looked like a large gear made of grayish metal and was coated with a golden metal of some kind around the edges, while two smaller gears floated in front of it, acting as hands of some sort. It's broken and I want to fix it so bad. But if I do, then the time stream of the digital world will be disrupted and the digital world could collapse. Oh, no wait, that's just with my clock. The Digimon looked at its lower clock-like body. But that stupid ticking noise is driving me crazy. But we'll get in real trouble anyway from the boss if we do, the first figure said. Judging from his tone, they could tell that this Digimon was hyperactive or just happened to talk really fast for no apparent reason. Then why don't you just leave it alone, the second figure that looked like a gear said. Okay, the first one is Clockmon, a champion-level Digimon. He is said to govern over all of space-time within the digital world and can even fast-forward or reverse time itself. His attacks are Chrono Breaker and Time Burster. Naruto read from Doraemon's reddish-violet Democrat Arkansas. The second one is Haguramon, a rookie-level Digimon. There are countless gears built into its body, and the gears are constantly rotating. For that reason, if even a single gear is missing, all of the gears in its body stop rotating, and it becomes unable to maintain its vital functions. His attack is called Cog Crusher. Rika read from her blue Democrat Arkansas. Oi, Mina-san, Kazu called out. Everybody looked at the visor-wearing preteen as the other face-palmed, even Kenta. Oh dear Kami-sama, Kazu, you retard, Rika groaned. Doesn't he know the meaning of the word stealthy? Gataman hissed. I guess not, Rinamon said as they saw Kazu walk up to the Clockmon and Haguramon. Hey guys, I hear you got a clock problem? Kazu said as he walked up to them. Human, what are you doing here? Clockmon asked in surprise. Nothing but me and my friends. Kazu gestured to the rest of the group, whose sweat dropped at Kazu's retardism and inability to think, but walked up alongside him anyways. We were wondering where we were? Oh, you're in the sky realm where the time of the digital world flows. We were wondering what this cuckoo clock does because it always remained broken, but we never knew whether to just leave it or fix it because our boss is not so friendly when he wakes from his mid-morning nap, Clockmon said frantically. Well, that's an easy answer, you fix it. No, Kazu, don't. But it was too late as Kazu had already moved the second hand and caused it to move, and suddenly the alarm went off on the cuckoo clock. Suddenly the large non-spinning gears that balanced atop the poles began to rotate and make a loud noise as they gnashed together. Oh great, now you've done it, Haguramon whimpered. Everyone's eyes widened in shock at what the gear-like Digimon said before turning to Kazu. Kazu, what the hell is wrong with you? They yelled. Whoops. His voice, however, was drowned out by the sound of a thunderous roar. Suddenly out of the clouds, a large serpentine-like Digimon emerged. It was very large and was covered in orange scales and a yellow underbelly. It had no legs and its large powerful arms were sporting to large laser cannons that could open and close to replace its hands. A pair of ripped and tattered, violet-colored wings granted the creature flight as its steel mask-covered head loomed over them. The group looked as large, yellow eyes with slitted pupils stared down at them. All right, who woke me up? The dragon-like Digimon growled. Naruto quickly took out Gataman's bronze Democrat Arkansas and scanned the Digimon. Megadragon, ultimate level. He is a dragon cyborg Digimon who boasts about being the strongest of his type of Digimon, which I stated before as being a dragon cyborg. His attacks are Dark Side Attack and Ultimate Slicer, Naruto read before pocketing the Democrat Arkansas. Oh, what's this? Humans and Digimon? Then that must mean you Digimon have been to the real world. Hehe. If I absorb your data, I can easily reach into the real world, Megadragon roared before swooping down on the group. Everyone, out of the way! Naruto yelled as he grabbed Rika and rolled along the clouds. Soft landing, nice, Rika commented. The Digimon quickly rose to their feet and were ready to fight. Diamond Storm! Rinamon yelled. A white circle of energy formed in front of her before diamond-shaped and similarly hard crystals formed in front of the energy circle. The shards of diamond flew towards Megadragon, and barely even phased him as Rinamon was struck down by one of Megadragon's large arm cannons. Digimodify. Geogramon's Mega Flame activate. Naruto swiped the card through Doraemon's Democrat Arkansas. Doraemon held out his claws and suddenly a ball of red flame materialized in his hand. Maybe I should get a Tamer, Ryutamon said. Yeah, it helps a lot, Doraemon said before both he and Naruto jumped into the air. Katan, Karawenden no Jutsu. Naruto took a deep breath and a large dragon of fire burst forth from his lungs and out of his mouth. Mega Flame! Doraemon yelled as he threw the large ball of fire. The two fire attacks mixed to form a larger fire dragon made of reddish-orange flames. Rika, add some of your fire, Naruto said. Rika nodded as she pulled on her chakra and formed hand signs. Hibi. Tora. Sara. Inu, Uma, Tora. Katan, Gakaku no Jutsu. Rika let out a medium-sized fireball from her mouth, and that mixed along with Naruto and Doraemon's signature collaboration move. Collaboration Jutsu, Katan, Saikyo no Karawinden no Jutsu. The three yelled as the Omega Fire Dragon attack flew towards Megadramon. Ultimate Slicer. The large ultimate-level Digimon opened his arm cannons to reveal the three steel-like claws that formed when they opened. The Dragon Digimon slashed straight through the flames and completely nullified the attack. Katana Attack. Ryudaman shouted and fired several blades of iron from his jaws that struck Megadramon in the stomach and impaled him, thus causing some mild damage to the large Digimon. But this proved to just anger the much larger Digimon. Kyuso, we got to digivolve, Rika said. Right, Naruto and Rika were about to draw their digivolution cards when they heard a yell from above. The group looked up to see a very muscular dragon-like Digimon with 4 crimson, bat-like wings and wore a mask that obscured the upper area of its face as it was pitch black. Its skin was dark gray and had shining claws on its hands and feet. Go Cyberdramon, a voice atop the smaller dragon Digimon said. Everyone looked to see the Digimon, now identified as Cyberdramon, land on the clouds in front of them. A human, a boy to be specific, jumped off the Cyberdramon's back. The boy had brown hair and brown eyes, wore a black t-shirt with a red neckerchief worn around his neck, and wore what looked like a gauntlet of some kind on his right arm. A pair of tan-colored gloves were worn on each hand. The boy completed the outfit with a pair of khaki-colored pants that appeared to be worn underneath a pair of black short pants, and a pair of red and white sneakers. No way, Rika, Kazu and Kenta thought in surprise, immediately recognizing the boy who was Cyberdramon's Tamer. Cyberdramon Attack, the boy commanded. The ultimate-level Digimon released a roar before flying up and grabbing Megadramon, and to the surprise of everybody, the much smaller Digimon heaved Megadramon over its shoulder and slammed it down on the clouds. Hard. Even though it landed on clouds, Megadramon still got hurt. Desolation Claw, Cyberdramon exclaimed before its claws glowed green. The green energy suddenly flew from its claws as Cyberdramon slashed the air, and then 10 slash-like markings of emerald green energy flew through the air and impacted with Megadramon. Megadramon howled in pain as the data-racing energy hit home before it burst into red flakes of data. Cyberdramon then absorbed the data before releasing a bestial roar and then landed on the clouds next to the boy. Hey Clockmon, Haguramon, I fixed the clock, well broke it, again so it's all safe now, the boy said. Clockmon and Haguramon smiled with joy before Kazu and Kenta ran up to the boy and looked out with stars in their eyes. They said you had disappeared, but you just came here to the digital world. I can't believe it, we thought you were dead or something. The two boys were suddenly knocked away as Cyberdramon nearly took off their heads when he knocked them back. Cyberdramon, stop it. The boy took out a black Democrat Arkansas before unleashing a whip of dark blue data and wrapped it around Cyberdramon's neck. Cyberdramon roared in annoyance and rage as it tried to get rid of the whip constricting it, but after a few seconds it calmed down. The boy sighed in relief before turning to the group of Tamers and Digimon. Then the boy's eyes settled on the fiery-haired beauty. Ah, Rika Nanaka. Long time no see, the boy said. You're as beautiful as ever, the boy said as he began to flirt with the redhead. Rika's eyes widened before she turned away from him, a slight blush on her face. Who are you? Naruto asked. Well, actually, he more or less growled the question out. 5 seconds after even meeting the guy, he already starts flirting with his girlfriend, but it seemed as if the boy knew Rika beforehand. This is Ryo Akiyama, the legendary Digimon King and the best in the Digimon card game. He was the king and Rika always lost to him, but ever since he had disappeared from the last tournament he won, Rika here began to develop an ego when she became the Digimon Queen. Kazu and Kenta answered. Naruto-kun, is it okay if we just leave? Rika said. What, and not get the chance to talk to this charming fella? Preposterous? Naruto said with sarcasm dripping from his words like venom from a cobra's fangs. Not even taking his glaring eyes off of Ryo. So let me hear your introduction from you. Who are you exactly? Naruto asked again. I am Ryo Akiyama and I am Rika's boyfriend. Naruto, Doraemon, Gatomon, Rinamon and Ryudamon's, hell even Kyubi from within his cage heard this and their eyes all widened in shock. Ryudamon was introduced to everyone and got to know everyone when they took the break to eat some bread. Her what? They all exclaimed. Rika's eyes widened before she glared at Ryo along with Naruto. Oh, Kit's not too happy about this, the Lord of Kitsune commented as he could feel the lack of repressed killing intent towards this newcomer. Who are you? Ryo asked Naruto. Naruto-kun, Ryo is my ex-boyfriend. Okay, ex, she emphasized. Naruto nodded and then smirked at Ryo, who seemed to turn his head away from the Rika and himself, which in Naruto's mind was a psychological defense to block the hurt Ryo felt because the claim to being an ex-boyfriend must have been true. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and I am Rika-chan's current boyfriend," Naruto growled, his eyes flashing crimson. Ryo and Naruto glared at each other, anime lightning formed between their eyes to represent the tension. All the Digimon, Renamon, Doraemon, Gatomon, Clockmon, Haguramon, Ryutamon and even Cyberdramon along with Kazu, Kenta and the Kyuubi all watched the scene from different vantage points, but they all had one single thought in their minds. "Well, this is awkward."